Hello, welcome to Small Gamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to AC1 Mondays. That's right, with the quad. I'm in the quad now with my crew. Yeah, that's right. I'm joined by Mr. Nathan. You can't stop me now, Prescott. Hi, Nath. How are you?
Hello. All good, thank you. You?
Good. Thanks for a little bit upset, but I'll talk about that in a moment. James, how are you? You well?
Yeah, super good, super well.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, MJ Pegasus, thanks for donating 300 bits to the show. Oh, that's nice. And also Dan, he's half flan. I couldn't think of anything good. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you know what? I have often, people have been like, that is a person who is 50% human and 50% gelatinous dessert. So I'll take it. I am literally a sugary, delicious snack.
And we missed you last week. I just want to say that.
I missed all of you guys. I got roped into work, but then I was like, hey, I'm going to take a 4-day weekend in return.
Was Dan not on the show last week?
Did you not have anyone to kick the shit out over elves?
Just thought I'd get that in there while I
you big dickhead.
Where
are the undergargants?
First thing we can do is find out how everyone is. Also, big shout out to Twitch chat or YouTube chat, or wherever you join us from. Today we are going to be talking about the new Morathi, the Broken Realms book, the Morathi book. So we're going to be talking about that in detail, which is going to be really fun. I'm very excited. I'm not going to lie. I've done a lot of homework and I am super pumped. Very, very excited to talk about it, which is good. So that's going to be the main focus of the show. There is also going to be, just hold out for this. This is very exciting. There is also, I think, some more fan fiction that's been sent in. James, can you confirm or not confirm?
I can confirm.
You can confirm.
I can confirm. There might be some fan fiction.
Okay, so we will be getting a fan fiction reading later, which I'm super excited about. Okay, so how is everyone? I'm going to find Nathan. You done any Warhammer this week? How you been?
I'm well, thank you. No, I've not done any Warhammer. So there you go. It's quiet on the front over here. So no real progress on these little Stormcasts. Oh no, actually, had I built a Gryph-hound last week?
Yeah.
If not, then I've built a Gryph-hound.
No. You built a Gryph Charger, not a Gryph-hound. Gryph-hound's new.
Yeah, Gryph-hound and a Lord with a lamp. Castellan?
Yes. Lord of the Lamp.
Lord of the Lamp.
Lord of the Lamps. Lord of the Lamps.
The Lord Illuminator. He answers the question, how many Stormcasts would it take to change a light bulb? And it's one, with a dog for some reason.
Yeah.
Can I just shout out Mr. Tiga, 8-Bit Jesus, and Reef for subscribing. Thanks loads, buds. Couldn't do it without you. James, how have you been this week? Done any Warhammer?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I did quite a bit. I've done a lot of painting anyway. I haven't played. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just slowly working my way through a Warcry set. So I did a test run, one of each lowly nobody from each warband, and I've almost painted all the dungeon terrain.
Congratulations, that's very good.
Yeah, it was a lot of painting I did. I was surprised at myself.
Nice.
That is very impressive. And then you're excited about doing a bit of Warcry, a bit more Warcry.
Bit more, yeah. It's been really nice actually. I think when I know we talked about it on the show, I didn't think there was much terrain there, but actually owning it, having it, there's a lot more than I thought. So that's exciting.
That is fair. Yeah, good. All right, nice. And Dan, what about you? Doing Warhammer or?
I didn't get a crazy amount of time, but I've just slowly been working my way through my dog, kind of as in Half-Life inspired dog Gargant and Mega Gargant. I bought the book, the Gargant book, because even though I'm not giddy like a schoolboy in the springtime skipping through a field of flowers when it comes to them competitively, I still absolutely love the lore behind them, and reading that book is just a joy. And the background for the Mega Gargants makes me my soul sing. It does make my soul cry a little bit when I then read the rules, but that's okay. And other than that, I'm trying to get the Lumineth. I've got a bunch of models I heavily converted in Australia that I think are going to sit really well in the in that army. So I'm staring at tracking updates, waiting for them to arrive because I can't remember exactly what I did and I need to match it. And that's been my week.
That's a good week. That's a good week. Zyguy in the chat's also had a good week, and he's come up with a system. With the lockdown and stuff, I can't go to the gym and all I do is eat. So I made a personal game system, if anyone wants to adopt it. For every workout, you get $2 credit. For every kilo you lose, you get $50 credit, all of which for buying minis, anything minis related. Works great so far. In 2 weeks, he's made $60 for himself, which is...
I like the idea he's made $60 for himself from himself.
Perfect. I think that's excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of hobby actually. I worked out that I'm 6 gore grunters down from my dream list, which I didn't think I was because I have a lot of gore grunters. But Nathan wrote me a list last week, which I'm going to play on Owen's TTS event this weekend. So I physically got it out of the box, and I was like, can't wait to see it in person. I've worked out I need 6 more gore grunters, so that's a bit of a sad part of my week. But it was nice getting the gore grunters out. I've based 80 blue horrors. Nathan, I found all the blue horrors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where were they?
Just in another box. So now they're all done
okay.
and sorted out.
Yeah.
I've almost finished painting up this for everyone on the screen. My purple sun. It was kind of half painted, and there was some green stuff. So I've got him done as well a little bit, which is also a Cygor. It's like both. Save time. So happy about that. So yeah, I've done quite a lot. I've done quite a lot of hobby, but
right.
yeah, but I had to have a bit of the week off because I had my tooth cut out, which was pretty rough. Yeah.
Oh, Lee Bromley's in the chat.
Sorry, just quietly had your tooth cut out there?
Yeah, earlier on in the week. But that's fine. Not as that wasn't the worst part of my week. Worst part of my week was I've been trying to organize my life, get myself more structured and focused. It's been kind of a big part of my week. And I've been trying to that thing we do positive reinforcement. So I've been waking up in the morning, listening to music, and then coming into the studio. But downstairs, as you know, the top floor of the studio upstairs. So I've been singing a lot of I Believe by the Monkees, if you know that song. Yeah, but then there's a lady downstairs, and she got really pissy about it with me this morning. She was like, oh, I wish you wouldn't keep singing that. And I was like, are you joking? And then I saw her face.
And now you're a believer.
Oh, I've been waiting for that one all day. I've been waiting for that one all fucking day.
Carefully crafted that, did you?
So happy.
Fucking hell.
I'm about that.
Wow. And suddenly we lost 50 viewers.
Yeah,
How did
more than
that
that. I'm more interested to know, Rob, how you get up and be chirpy singing My Chemical Romance, because that's definitely what you wake up to.
Listen, Call Me When You're Sober by Evanescence is a cracking song, and I won't hear a word
but
against
not as
it.
good as Wake Me Up Inside.
And you know that. Wake me up inside.
Can you imagine if that was your alarm every morning? I'd be like, this is worth it for the joke, but God, it makes me feel awful. like you'd be like, I'm committing to this bit for the rest of my life. And then, you have a lady friend or something over, and then they wake up and they're like, what the fuck is that? And then they listen, they're like, you're an idiot. But,
I'm off.
Points for commitment.
Dalnir in the chat, thanks for the advice earlier. I'm glad that you listened to the show earlier. We talked about Shadow and Pain. All right, let's talk about, so there'll be no lore spoilers today. Let's talk about the Morathi book. There's no lore spoilers. The book's on pre-order. It went on pre-order this weekend. Obviously, you can pick it up this weekend. And it sounds like, top down, it sounds like the lore's fantastic. There's a lot of push. I've read the synopsis of the lore. There's a really good Goonhammer article on it if you want to read the synopsis also. I think that's really good. I liked it. I'm excited about reading the thing in full. Sounds really, really interesting, but we'll try and avoid that. And we'll talk about it next week, if that's okay with everyone. Is that fine?
Yep.
You guys got any? Have you guys read anything so far, or are you just generally excited or not interested at all about the lore updates?
I'm keen. The whole thing that I've loved about Age of Sigmar is how rapidly they've moved the story on. So it's every other book we're pushing new lore, new gods and new beasts and everything like that. So I'm really keen. I'm so excited. I get really excited every time one of these books come out. And I think I realize the more that I enjoy it, it's the thing that I missed from the old world, from Warhammer Fantasy, was every time a new, like the Dwarf book would come out, and the dwarves are still grumbling. They're still in their mountains, and maybe there's a new rune, and they're like, "Oh, we rediscovered a rune from blah blah," but that's the extent of it. Where here, I love that everything is constantly changing. There's new gods, there's old gods. What I'm excited for is the first time they switch an allegiance. Like the first time they go, this is a Cities of Sigmar army, but it's in Shaiish. So it's death and can ally with Death Rattle. That I'm really keen to see the first time they do that.
Okay, I think that's really interesting. I think also I think the key part is that they're able to set themselves up because they know they're going to move story onward, so they can set themselves up for the story, which I think is fun. So obviously they had Slaanesh trapped between worlds, like with the ability to eventually maybe free Slaanesh, and that's been like an ongoing storyline. So that's really, really exciting. I think it's cool. James, Nathan, you got any thoughts?
That's gonna. I have. I'm excited, but I'm trying very hard. I think because I'm also not playing as much. I've tried very hard to ignore like any lore spoilers. So my aim is, because I almost very nearly brought like a physical copy, but I know like on the show and to myself I said I was only buying digital now, so I've tried very hard to not buy a physical copy. So on Saturday when it actually comes out, I'll just buy a digital copy and then I'll sit and read the lore then probably.
Listen, enjoy that moment of buying that digital copy. We've got only 8 months left of that being a thing. So
all right.
Wait, what?
Well, so Dan, you know in 40k you can't buy digital copies of any books now.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, you as of the new 9th edition, you can't buy digital copies in any way through the app, through iTunes, in any way. The only way you can get a copy of the rules of the book is if you buy a physical book. You can get a half copy in the app via the code that you get on your book, but you don't get any of the narrative. You just get the rules on the 40k app. So I assume that they're going to roll out that same system for Age of Sigmar. I hope not. Listen, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed they don't give a shit about us enough. Let's all just hope that. Let's all just...
because it's the dumbest system, but let's not get me started on that.
I can't believe you missed that, Dan. That's pretty big.
Yeah, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, that sounds shit.
It's really shit. It's really, really shit. And in 2020, it's fascinating that they've decided to move away from the digital platform. Yeah. I mean, it's also a bold move during a global pandemic. There's a lot of... we talked about this loads. I don't need to.
Look, you know what? Revolutionary. Breaking boundaries, pushing the envelope, creating the uncreatable. Is it maybe a terrible tactical decision? Only time will tell. But the answer is yes.
Nathan, you got any thoughts about the lore? Also in the chat, Deep Power Hobby Channel says, am I the only one who thinks, and you're not the only one who thinks, that Jacob Bugmanson XL looks exactly like Nathan? I think we're all very conscious that it's...
What? Yeah. Oh, I wish. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm excited for the lore. I've not read any of it or seen any of the podcasts or anything of people that have done the lore, but yeah, I'm in.
Good.
I don't know when I'll get it, but I will get it and devour it.
Eat it up.
Yeah.
Eat it up.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
All right. Well, so let's talk about what's actually in the book, shall we? Like when we're not talking about lore, but the lore seems prodigious, and I'm very, very excited about it. So some top level stuff for the book is that there's inside the book. There's DOK changes, there's Idoneth Deepkin changes, there's Slaves to Darkness changes, there's also Cities of Sigmar changes and Stormcast changes. Now, today, we're only going to cover Daughters of Khaine, Idoneth, and Slaves to Darkness, and we're going to do Cities of Sigmar and Stormcast next week. Because there's loads to talk about, and instead of just trying to, just scram it in, I thought we'd try and, just deep dive it and have, real fun exploring the stuff, if you guys are cool with that. So the Daughters of Khaine's changes are, there's one new unit, there are 4 War Scroll updates, and there's a new sub-faction. Idoneth Deepkin, there are 4 War Scroll updates and points updates. There's also points updates for Daughters of Khaine as well. Slaves to Darkness, there's a new sub-faction and a new War Scroll battalion. I don't want to blow the lead on that, but that is arguably one of the worst and written things Games Workshop's ever made. I'm just going to point that out there. That particular section is fun. Then next week, Cities of Sigmar have got 2 new cities rules, so 2 brand new cities.
So excited.
Yeah, that's next week. That's going to be really, really fun. And there's so much to talk about with that I thought that we try and separate that out. And then there's also Stormcast that have got a new cities-like sub-faction. So imagine a Stormcast. In some of the cities that you get in the Cities of Sigmar book, you can include one in every 4 can be either a Caradron or it can be a Sylvaneth. In that Stormcast sub-faction, it's one in every 4 units can be from the Cities of Sigmar as opposed to a Stormcast, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So so it's a flip. But that allegiance sits underneath Stormhosts. So you can get your Stormhost and then you can get that. So it's quite cool. And there are 5 new War Scroll battalions. 5 more War Scroll battalions for those guys.
I mean, they don't have enough models though, so maybe they're trying to make it up in War Scroll battalions.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
Sure. I don't know.
They've only got 6 pages of a book on every rules update.
Right, so should we talk about Daughters of Khaine? So we're going to start with Daughters of Khaine. You guys
starting with the elves. Just like an elf.
It's mainly elves today. So it's
what a
rough.
terrible show to be a part of.
So excited.
All right, so they've before we get into what updates they've got, let's talk about how Daughters of Khaine played before. Dan, James, Nathan, got any feedback for that on how they previously played?
Run forward and stab.
It's a good strategy. It's pretty much the only strategy. Nathan, you played against him?
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, they've got a nice bubble of 5-up ignores, which if they can get a blessing off, can become rerollable. I think still.
And
re-rolling
everything immune to battle shock because you felt like it. Cheap, stupid, freaking hag queens.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of those things. Yeah, go on, Dave. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, the hag queens are obviously key to their. They're having a good time with the immune to battle shock and the re-rolling to wound. I think she gave them. So
yes, yeah. Which is the witch brew is. It's really interesting. So I've written a kind of recap for you guys on the screen here. A traditional playstyle is Hagnar, sometimes in Calibron, but not really Calibron. Not really, but you could say. And then Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter were like the bulk of the army. But really, the key linchpin piece, and this is going to be part of the conversation for where we do the review. The linchpin piece was the hags, the hag on the cauldron, and specifically Morathi. Now, we put Morathi to the side for the moment. The hag on the cauldron was just vital. And if you look at someone like Benjamin Sava, who arguably is the best Daughters of Khaine player the world's ever seen, because he won like 1 billion events with them, that hag on the cauldron is super survivable. The cauldron itself gives a +1 save out to units around it. So the Witch Elves and the Sisters don't have a particularly good save, but you can get them to a 4-up. But then because it's in Hagnar, that 5-up DPR save, which is a bubble around that cauldron, so key because it extends out. They then all get a 5-up save as well. And then, like Nathan said, you can make them so one of them are re-rollable. But then you can just pick a unit to be immune to battle shock. If you have 2 hags, you can pick 2 units, and they get to re-roll to wound. And that's pretty important because, as the conversation moves on, that re-roll to wound's huge because of the blood blessing that they always already got anyway. They got to re-roll 1s to hit in turn 3. It's quite interesting when we talk about this list. Sorry, when we talk about daughters, and then we go on to talk about Idoneth Deepkin. Because really, I don't know what it is about elves in turn 3, but they just fucking love turn 3. They're so invested in turn 3.
The best turn. You might finish a game, you might not. But you've got there.
Yeah, exactly. And like Hawkeye says in the chat, it's important to note that that 5-up DPR save in addition, you only have to be within as opposed to wholly within. So when all the other sub-factions really didn't get much play, and I know people would try to make it work, but you can't really run away from the fact you got reroll all wounds, reroll all wounds in combat, amazing, and you also got immune to battle shock, and you also got a 5-up DPR. It's hard to walk away from that,
Yeah. No one was going, oh yeah, but this is better. Everyone was trying to find a way to make it work so they could be the person who wasn't using Hagnar. That's all it was. And credit to them as well. I don't want to take anything away from those people because that was awesome. and we did see some creative stuff. But at the end of the day, if you were going to, like, I don't know, if you're going into an illegal late night street race and everyone's rocking up in these like souped up cars, and then you rock up in your Suzuki Swift, like I get it. If you pull a win in a Suzuki Swift, praise be to you. However, you have actively decided to not take the good bits.
Exactly. The other thing that you see a lot, and this I want to be a part of the conversation as well, like, you didn't see Daughters of Khaine players would be like, these are my witch elves, this is my cauldron, and then like maybe a Morathi, maybe not, and then they'd be like, oh, and they just half say, they're like, those are my harpies, they're over there. There's my 2 units of 5 heart renders. You'd be like, sorry, what is that you've got over there? It was 2 units of 5 heart renders. Don't worry about them. They're fine. Like, the stuff, but like they were so fucking important.
The favorite thing about heart renders is they were paper, but they didn't need to explain any of that to you. They were just like, oh, they're just off the board. They come on at some way. It doesn't matter. I'll leave them. I tell you what, I'll leave them. You don't really need to know. They're on the list. But I'll leave them under the table in my case, closed away and unseen.
Exactly.
Oh, turn 4, is it? Let me just go into my case.
No, you moved off of that objective on your backboard edge.
Did you forget me? I did put them in my case, but they were on my list.
So it's important to note that those 2 units of harpies, like, they've cost different points, but that's kind of like a 200-point-ish sink. Roughly always for game-winning plays. Like, they're there for game-winning plays, and they've won games for people time and time again. So game-winning plays, and that's going to lead into the story quite a lot, because that cauldron is, around the 300-point mark, and like, you start really racking the points up quite significantly. But it's all about bodies, obviously, for scoring. Yeah,
I think the other thing for me is that I'd always have players like when I was playing against them, who'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've done something different this time," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool. What have you done? What's different? I'm excited to learn what you are doing that is not the same." And they're like, "I took Cauldron Guard instead of Temple Nest," and I'd be like, "Oh, isn't that just the other really good formation?" And be like, "No. This is very different. It's very different.
It's really good, like really good. It includes your 2 units of heart renders in the battalion.
Exactly.
Like." It's brilliant. You also can't forget that one of the things that one of the weaknesses you got was magic defense and also magic output, because you had Baby Morathi in the list. If you had Baby Morathi, you had Morathi in the list, or in which case you would have had a Medusa, because you were looking to get you're looking to cast Mind Razor on one of those units and do all this extra stuff. But Morathi was stronger when she was a big snake, so you would pretty much be like, little Morathi, big Morathi, let's go. So you might not have the spell casting really in that army. So they were pretty low on spell casting to get the spells off, but they were also pretty rubbish at stopping magic. That was also the kind of other key factor. They couldn't really shut magic down particularly well. So that was a weakness that they did suffer.
But they were really good at all standing around one big shrine and being unkillable. Like, I remember that being a really good strength of theirs. Like, hey guys, quickly, let's all just stand around the big statue of a dude and a lady who's kind of partying in some blood, like an old school weird Macaulay Culkin film. For those of you who get that reference and have seen that film.
It's exactly
that
like
was 3 people. That was 3 people.
All 3 of you.
Have you heard the... I do, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think, the strengths and weaknesses, unless anyone thinks of anything that I left out. Hawkeye pointed out, obviously, when we were talking about the heart renders previously, a bit of foreshadowing there, previously they were able to drop down at any turn, including turn 5, for that clutch, take an objective off turn 5, which was pretty important. So yeah, anything you think I missed, Nath? Anything you think I missed, or we missed?
No, I think that's it. I did play against the snakes a couple of times. They were actually pretty scary list to play against, but I just think the sisters were more popular because you just had more bodies to contest objectives. But the snake list was pretty scary, actually.
It was specifically because Crystal Touch was a really interesting element of the snakes. When we get on to talk about those in a moment, because obviously you could do all those mortal wounds, and if you stacked attacks on the snakes, you could like double up like how many crystal touch attacks you would get to make.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah, you would only really see the melee ones. I don't think I've seen the bow and arrow ones ever.
Yeah, the Blood Stalkers. I've had them in my head the wrong way around the whole time. Blood Sisters are the combat ones, Blood Stalkers are the shooter ones. And it feels like it should be the other way around. I don't know why. Blood Sisters sound like they shoot something. Don't know why, that's just me.
Well, Stalk feels like...
prey.
Huh? Yeah, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Alright, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Fair enough. Alright, well.
I don't know, I feel like they're stalking you to stab you.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. Like, you don't stalk with a bow. I don't know.
Well, we're not going to ask what parts of the world you two live in, are we?
Oh, mate. Vancouver's a terrifying place.
Nottingham is famous for the knife crime that we have. Famous. Like, but very, very little bow crime. That was hundreds of years ago. Like, yes, at one point Nottingham had some pretty solid bow crime.
Yeah, we're famous for bow crime, weren't we?
We were really good at bow crime.
You know what?
He stalked his prey.
That's what I would love to see, is a return of bow crime. That's the person that I want to know about. Like, oh my gosh, he robbed the bank and made off with the diamonds. Oh my gosh, how did he get it? A bow and arrow? Sorry, what?
Double bow and arrow. I don't know how that works. I can't work that out, mate.
Scott B is right. It is sad to see skills lost from an area. He's right. But maybe, if anything I learned from Leon, the film, the knife is the last weapon you learn. So I feel like the Nottingham criminals have like got better. Bow is something you use at range. You have to be smarter to get closer with a knife. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. They've reached their ultimate form.
When one of them stabs me on the walk home, I'll be like, I really like that you've perfected your arts there, sir. Well done. Right, the doors.
I'm just going to look at them disappointedly and be like, oh, what? So we've just given up on the bow then? Or like they stab you and I'd just be like, Blood Sister fan, are ya? Oh, no, wait, Stalker fan. Wait, which one are you again?
Meg Facey has got it right. Bows are better when you're 40 feet away, though. Meg Facey! Oh my god! Meg's boyfriend is on the show. Is that Meg? Oh, can we all get a clap for Meg Facey in the chat, please?
I don't know who that is. It's the wrong one.
Oh, well, whatever. So Wogshrog asks a question. Okay, so, and I'll try and answer that now. So Daughters of Khaine updates. There's 2 pages for this. So War Scroll and point changes. We've seen Morathi, Khaine, War Scroll has now had a War Scroll change and points updates. Here's where it gets a little bit confusing. In the Morathi book, there isn't a rules change or points change for the Blood Sisters or the Blood Stalkers or the Melisai Iron Scale. All of those are available in the new book, the new box set, which is kind of, this is what it's new, and it's an interesting way of like, so Shadow and Pain, the new box set that's out. Normally, you don't get points updates in those boxes. I don't think normally, but you have now. So there are points updates and there are rules updates in that box.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. So they're not going to be in the. That's the situation. I'm just telling you what the situation is. So they're in there. There are also rules changes for harpies as well, and some of those things are big, and some of those guys. But what is inside the Morathi book is the Morathi Khaine change, a new sub-faction, Zaintha Kai? It sounds like Cobra Kai, and I feel like that's the joke.
Maybe.
So it's me.
I don't think they're on board, but
What, you don't think...
I don't think they're that up to date with their rules right in normally. But
Okay. Oh, thank you, Spleen Thief. Wrath and Rapture had rules and points. I thought it did. Yeah, okay. Wrath and Rapture had points updates as well, and rules updates. So new sub-faction, Zaintha Kai! And then there are 3 battalions. There's a Viperic Guard, the Scath Coven, and the Shrine Brood. A good question that's been asked in the chat is whether or not those 3 battalions are only like applicable to Zaintha Kai. Personally, don't think so, but we haven't had any clarity on that. Like, I've read through all the pages. There's no like sort of like insinuation that there is, but maybe they are, because the new battalions are all very snake orientated, and Zaintha Kai is kind of like the snake temple. But I feel like you could play these new battalions currently. I don't think there's anything rules-wise that says you can't play these new battalions in Hagnar, which you're going to do if you want to do anything. Wait, so it's Cobra Kai. Yeah, you get it, baby. Right. So that's the top level, what's inside here. And then the actual specifics of some of those changes, which we're not going to go into too much detail, is the heart renders. If they're not down by turn 4, they're destroyed.
Okay.
So they can't come down turn 4 and 5 now. So that war scroll's been changed, which is great.
Oh, so they can only come down till turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good job.
Yeah. They can't come down turn 4 or 5, or they're dead.
Oh, that's crazy different.
It's pretty in line with like 40k.
But it is crazy because
I'd also
I don't think I ever saw harpies come down turn 1, 2, or 3.
I have. I've seen them come down as like early door gambits on objectives, but like, yeah. So yeah,
I kind of like that as well because for me they're a very cheap unit. Like at 90, I think they're 80 and 90 or 90 and 100. So for a very cheap unit to have that insane level of objective flexibility, I like this. I like that as a rule a lot.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think it takes away, but ultimately it's a nerf not only to those units but to the army as a whole. Like it's definitely brought down some of that stuff, especially because one of the ways that the Daughters of Khaine army plays or played, but will still play, is run into the middle, fight you there, and then you kind of have to commit all your forces to hold back the nuts women with the knives, like hold the line, and then some like sneaky ones and sneak in the back. So now, like you've got even more, like we talked about with turn 3. That turn 3 now even more important for this army, and yeah, I think that changes quite a lot of stuff. Actually, I think that's really important. Yeah. But it does. Thank you, Bruce Hammer. Big love to you, buddy. All right, Bruce. Harpy's coming down. Restriction just keeps it level with other current deep strikers, which is excellent. So I think that's good. Got any thoughts, Nath?
Yeah, fuck them, stupid little elves. Anyway.
Good.
No,
right.
Yeah, it's fair. Like you say, it seems to be what's happening with deep striking. So, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, at least while ambushing, I would say. Not deep. Yeah, like you can still teleport dudes around the field.
Yeah, I'd like to see some sort of mitigation teleport eventually. But yeah, I agree with you. So Blood Sisters. So these are the combat ones. So their Crystal Touch is now an ability and not an attack. So previously you could stack attacks so that you could do more of these, and now it's an ability. So it works like evocators or it works like eels. However, it happens at the end of combat, and then you don't have to have each one of the models within range. Just one of the models has to be in range for you to do them all. So if for some reason you charge a unit and you attack them, they also gained an extra attack, and then they +1 attack to hit. Yeah, +1 attack to hit and +1 attack in melee. But basically, they've gained extra attack. But basically, you can't charge them in, fight something, and you have to wait until the end of combat to be able to do your Crystal Touch. So it's changed quite a lot.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but the points are the same. The points haven't changed.
Yeah, they got an extra attack though. I think
they
a
have
lot
got
of
an
the
extra attack.
damage came from the attacks anyway. From what I remember. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's still good.
Yeah, +1 attack takes them up to 4 attacks. Yeah, which is 3s and 3s. Oh no, wait, it doesn't. It doesn't take up to 4 attacks. It takes them up to 3 attacks. So it's 3s and 3s, rend 1, doing damage 1, which is kind of like a bit rough. The unit, if you take a whole 20, comes in at 480 points, which gets you 40 wounds at a 5-up save, which is
until you put Mind Razor on them, then.
And Mind Razor is a really good conversation because Mind Razor is you get +1 rend and +1 damage if your bravery is higher, and the snakes are bravery 8, so they're actually quite high bravery for like getting that to work.
And they have got buffs, don't they? Bravery buffs,
debuffs.
Which, yeah, they've got debuffs and I thought they had buffs as well. Yeah, so which come into play quite a bit. That you can just pop them over that 10 mark. That makes them pretty scary.
Yeah. And +1 for the cauldron. Good point. So you would end up being bravery 9. So that's pretty good. And as we're going to find out, there's loads of ways to make these guys faster and to give them more attacks as well. So you can get up to a lot of attacks, and if you get Mind Razor off on them, they are pretty terrifying. However, if you charge them, they're pretty fucked because they're just 40 wounds with a 5-up save. And then the Bloodstalkers, this is kind of like the headline, which I think some people have talked about, is so the snakes with a bow, they've got +1 attack on the bow, and all their mortal wound shots, which they do, now happen on 6s. So they do mortal wounds on 6s. So if you had 20 Bloodstalkers, you'd end up with 40 shots at 24 inches. Any 6s to hit would be a mortal wound.
Didn't they? They've always done that.
No, it used to be 6+.
Oh, okay.
So you could
sorry,
buff. Yeah.
So you could take a -1 off, so they wouldn't do it. So now it's a flat 6, which is fun. No way to make it 5s. So Sentinel's still king in that particular situation.
And
yes.
are they
Then
the same
again, I'd be disappointed if the stabbiest elves were the shootiest elves.
Well, I mean, they've got all that lower body muscle to pull back better.
lower
They
body
actually,
muscle?
that's
Yeah,
a
Maple muscle.
something that
Well,
a
the
lot of people don't know
bolt
about the
from the coin.
Bloodstalkers is they don't actually use their arms to draw the bow. They hold it with both arms like this, and
Flip
then
the tail
use
in.
the tail to pull it. It's it takes a lot of dexterity.
Yeah, there's loads. Like, we're going to unpack this later because there's actually loads to
just-
say on this. Go on.
Just as an important point, it's nice to know that Dan was the utmost authority on how an elf fires its bow. We can continue now.
Right, so let's talk about
Where are the
Morathi.
undergargants?
Where are the undergargants? That's a great
They
question.
come in. I'm waiting for a design.
We're gonna. So Morathi used to be 480 points. She's now gone up to 600 points, and I'm sure no one has missed the fact that instead of just having one little Morathi that turns into one big Morathi, you now end up with both models on the board. Now, when you do take it, you take both. You take both of them, so 600 points basically. So you use both models. Now, they used to be able to the in-between phase, which was very Slaaneshi. Used to be able to do damage to Morathi in the in-between phase, which stopped her Iron Heart of Khaine, which only allowed her to take 3 wounds per turn. That's gone now. You can't do that, Nath. It's now considered that any wounds, well, on the Morathi War Scroll, which doesn't set a precedent, sadly, any wounds that you do in the in-between phase are counted as happening in that turn. If that's something we see move in the future, that would be quite interesting, because Endless Spells would do damage, which would cause Battle Shock tests in the next turn, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Make purple sim really scary.
yeah, absolutely. Like Geminids, like anything really. Like it's pretty cool. So yeah, you can only now take 3 wounds per turn, which means Morathi will only ever die by the end of turn 2. Again, that prelude before turn 3. However, you do get both on the board at the same time. So you get Baby Morathi, who's a pretty badass caster. She casts 3 spells. She dispels 2. Her spell got upgraded. It used to be 18 inches, do d6 mortal wounds. It's now 36 inches. So that's pretty nuts. Or maybe it was always 36.
No, because
Yeah,
it was.
I thought it was quite far before.
It was 18, and then she automatically doubled it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
So it
that's
was always
right.
36.
That was
but
it.
then
So
you
now
could
it's
also
just
put her on Balewind and throw
Yeah,
it
now-
even further.
yeah. So now it's just flat 36. Right.
Cool. I mean, it's easier, right?
It is much
Oh.
easier.
No, because it removes all her spells used to double range. So it means she can't throw like an Arcane Bolt 36 anymore. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Good. She can fuck off. Like,
Sorry, I know that we're going to do the lore on another show, but for me, the big question that I haven't seen answered yet is how, like, what's the story behind how she's in both forms
That's
on the
next
same
week's
day?
turn.
that's next week, but like
And also,
it's
you
it's
should go
fine.
on
I think Games Workshop have blown the lead. She becomes a god. Dan. She's now a god.
Ah,
So
right,
she's-
and one of those gods that there's just makes there be 2 of you.
Yeah, like
Ah,
a mortal realm god.
And Teclis's thing.
Yeah, yeah. So she's but you got
She's
to
like
read it.
Gorka Morka.
Yeah.
Pick a lane, Morathi. You're like one of those people who's driving along with their indicator on just in the middle, and you're like, where are you going? Are you staying? And then they turn their indicator off, and you're like, I want to know what you're doing, Morathi.
Yeah, so you get both on the board, and there are some interesting things about that, because if you do any wounds to Baby Morathi, it transfers to Snake Morathi. Snake Morathi has 12 wounds, and if you do any wounds to Snake Morathi, that counts towards that 12 wounds. So effectively, they've got 12 wounds. You just scrap any other information. They've got 12 wounds in your head. If you hurt either, which kind of makes them like more susceptible to damage because they're in different places, so it's harder to protect, I guess. Which is a thing. Morathi herself, little baby Morathi, has got a new -1 to hit bubble, which with Lookout Sir, she's now -2. So that's pretty cool. That makes her at least more survivable, not against Sentinels, FYI. But Sentinels can only do 3 wounds to her. And then Big Snake Morathi has got shit tons more attacks. And also brackets better as well. So she doesn't lose, like she starts with more attacks and she doesn't lose as many attacks straight away. So genuinely quite scary. Especially considering you literally can't kill it until the end of turn 2. Like, no way, end conversation, which is pretty rough. But it's whether or not she's going to be worth that 600 points to do that. And then another little weird interaction, but that is kind of cool, is Morathi is always considered the general in your army, even if you have another general. So if you went Hagnar and you had like the hag on the cauldron and was the general, you could have the command trait and you could have the artifact on the cauldron. However, other Morathi is still the general as well, so that you're able to do because generals are able to do command abilities from 12 inches away. So they've got that ability, which is quite cool. So they've got a little bit more utility there. It's like a nice little weird buff that you might not see much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. She sounds like a bit of a beast, yeah?
Yeah. Any insta-slain attacks end up just doing 3 wounds. So that won't do anything. And that caps you out for the round. So that won't work. So there's just... Gotrek could kill her. No, he literally can't kill her. You're not allowed to kill her until the end of turn 2. Like, if you do 3 wounds turn 1. Otherwise she's going to be around all the time. Which is pretty rough. Why turn 2 is going to... So battle round... What I mean by turn 2 is the end of battle round 2. So 4 turns will have elapsed, 2 for each player, is what I mean. Go on, James, you got a question?
I was just going to say, Sentinels, like, long-range shooting's just going to be her worst nightmare now, isn't it?
Not really, because Morathi's fast, and you can just long bomb her into the Sentinels, and they cannot kill her until the end, until basically the start of battle round. By the end of battle round 2, she might be dead, but that's when you'll kill her.
But she'll smash them up.
Yeah.
Nah, they're all right. They'll be okay. Dan will tell you.
I'd rather Iron Drakes, to be honest.
Oh, here he goes, pretending he doesn't be an elf, covering his ears and his surgery.
You guys keep talking a moment. Owen's asked me a question, which I'm not even going to bother reading it. There's something I don't even know the answer to. I don't know if she's now a 2-drop. The
thing I saw says that she's counted as 2 separate models, I believe. So it should be 1 drop, then 1 drop, I think.
So she is 2 drops. There we go.
So that whole thing, I'm in 2 minds about that. In one instance, I really do like it because they're 2 very cool models. I like that they've kind of advanced the story with her, which I think is really awesome. So I love that. I think the shame is that the Morathi transformation, like mechanic and gameplay element, I really enjoyed. I thought it was really fun and really tactical. I'm kind of going to miss that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the damage between phases. Like, I think you were rewarded as the non-Morathi player for creating that situation. I really do. However, there's some positives and there's some negatives. Her command ability got changed as well. In the hero phase, you can pick 1 Daughters of Khaine unit wholly within 24. It used to be 18, and it can shoot or fight in the hero phase. We'll come back to that later. The thing that I like about the change is the army that struggled a lot for what it was going to put in the list, specifically spellcasters, now has, it spent 200, they've spent an extra 120 points now, and has got a 3-caster. So the Medusa that you used to put in the list so that you could cast spells no longer has to be in the list.
Yeah. And they effectively get 2 more generals then.
They
throwing out 12-inch.
Bubbles
Stuff.
for doing Inspiring
Yeah.
Presence, if you needed that for some reason in Daughters of Khaine. But also, reroll one.
Yeah,
so
no, it's the reroll ones is going to be great for them. Well, I think they get that anyway. So yeah, but it's great. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
also does just mean now that we will always see Morathi in every list.
Well, so that's the great question we're going to ask ourselves as we go through this with each other. However, that 120 points, Dan, change does beg the question of what comes out of your list, because the conversation already in Daughters of Khaine armies is: am I going to put Morathi in my list or am I not? Do I have Morathi and have less bodies, or do I have Morathi and like do I not have Morathi and I have more bodies? And that's a really good question. Also,
Wasn't the spellcaster before about 120 points the Medusa?
yeah, if you included the Medusa, some people just wouldn't go for the Mind Razor. And if you think about having Mind Razor now in like the Magic Dom heavy meta, like, do you think you'd be able to necessarily get Mind Razor off?
Can you cast against Croak?
Or Teclis? Or Zinch?
Or
Mm.
anyone
Yeah,
else?
but you can cast against the other guys. Has she got any buffs to her casting?
+1.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, sure. It's still worth taking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're fighting orcs or cities or something like that. You have a field day.
Yeah, but like, and I'm not. It's not. I'm not saying don't take her. I'm saying it's now. It's more of a question because you're taking up more of the points. But you do, bonus wise, you do end up with a 3 spell caster, and you've got 2 unbinds in that list as well. So that's a positive. That's really good. So that's Morathi. Ultimately, I actually think we'll get towards that at the end. That's Morathi. Let's just do that, shall we? So in the Shadow and Pain box, there's a new character, the Melisai Iron Scale. Ooh, baby.
Before we skip Morathi, I'd just like to say, she's become like, well, okay, before we leave her in the dust behind us, piece of trash that she is. She's obviously seen the Gobblepalooza War Scroll and she's decided to copy that.
Yeah.
How do you?
What's the question, Dave?
No, I'm just stating the fact that she is copying the Gobblepalooza, and imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
She's splitting herself out into more. Are you expecting there to be more Morathis in future updates?
5 Morathis.
Only the ones that want to imitate the Gobblepalooza.
I like the idea that she's -2 to hit, but that's probably not as good as 3 netters.
No, she's not as good as any netters.
She's not. Right, so the Melisai Iron Scale, there's some things left here. Chumphammer, thanks for saying that in the chat, 'cause this is an important point. So it's got a combat attack, whatever, no one gives a shit. Command ability, though, accessible from the... So this is the character you find in Shadow and Pain. You pick a friendly Melisai unit, that's snakes, wholly within 12 inches. That unit can run and shoot. However, you can run and shoot, and you can run 2d6. 2d6.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Run and shoot.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, run and charge, or run and shoot, or run and charge, run and shoot, run and shoot, and run and charge, whichever you want. So that makes all of the snakes better because they're movement 8 base, an average of a 7 on a run if you don't spend any CP is mean that you're gonna means that it's a 7, so that's gonna take you up to 13. So it's pretty fast if you.
Yeah, they're quick now, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's 140 points, and thank you for Chumphammer putting this out. The only way that you can get snakes actually as battle line, be it Blood Sisters or Bloodstalkers, is if you take the Medusa as your general.
Yeah.
Right? And why would you take the Medusa as your general? Because then you're not having Hagnar. The Cauldron. So you're now paying for... Go on.
But so if you use Morathi, she has to be your general.
Yes.
But
you
also
can have
still get
another
another
general.
general.
Okay.
Morathi's like, I'm the boss, but also sometimes I don't want to be the boss, so she's really good at delegation.
Okay, I'm the boss, but we'll use your little special trait because I'll have some snakes.
So there's a great question that's come up in the chat. When you make the 2d6 run and make, can you make both dice a 6 for a CP? The answer is no. You can turn the result of one dice to a 6, not 2.
Okay. Can you, though? Because this would be my question, right?
Mhm.
I believe that command ability doesn't say you change the dice roll to a 6. It says that doesn't it? Unless I may have missed a change. Doesn't it say that your run becomes a 6?
Yeah.
So if you were to change it, wouldn't you then be changing your entire roll to a 6?
There are some precedents for that, but we've got a 4-week FAQ to wait, so it's a good question for that.
Very true. Yep.
And you can't use it. You can't. Yeah, 2d6 counts as a 6, so you can't. And your average on 2d6 is 7, so it's better to not use the CP in that situation. But it's a cool rule, and the fact that you can pick a unit, it's pretty much the only reason you take that 140 points, though. And when because if the Iron Scale also made the Snakes battle line, I'd be like, that's sweet, that's the right call, because now they're working together. But now, if I wanted Snakes' battle line, I also have to include the general, who's the Medusa. Yeah. So it's a bit of a weird build up, and as much as that's a really cool ability, I don't think it'll actually see a lot of play personally.
Yeah, I do like in a small way that they've gone, cool, if you want them as battle line, if you want to build this, you're going to have to work for it. Like, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. I just don't think anyone's going to choose to make those sacrifices. Though I will say that, gosh, how lovely is it that they've gone, what are Daughters of Khaine really good at? Running forward and stabbing. Should we give them a way to change up this play style? No. Let's just make them run forward faster to when it comes to the stabbing. Yes, good. Quickly, coffee's all around, everybody. We've finished for the day. Let's call it. Let's go.
So there's a good question in the chat from Owen. Wouldn't a brick with 20 with a single Iron Scale be a nice combo? We'll come back to that later, because I've done some maths a little bit on this, and it's worth discussing. But we'll come back to that. So the new temple, Zandakai. That's right, Cobra Kai. So the battle traits that you get for this, or the bonuses really, that you get for being this sub-faction is -1 bravery. -1 bravery for Melisine Harpies units. Is that right? Did I write that right? Oh no, it's probably copy and paste.
+1.
Whatever, +1. +1, sorry.
I like the idea that it's -1. Take this thing, make your army worse.
Yeah.
They were good anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just weaken them.
So that's massive for Mind Razor, right? Because now you're bravery 9, yeah, already before you do any other buffs. Then one additional hero can have an artifact of power from the Daughters of Khaine book only. No, I'm pointing out the spelling mistake I made there. Power form, which is fine. That's fine. Means you don't have to take a battalion, whatever. Not a battalion. Battalion. You don't have to do that. Whatever. Command ability: +1 attack for the Melisai or Harpy unit wholly within 12 inches. Pretty cool. So now they've got more attacks on your snakes if you wanted to run forward. And the command trait is rubbish. Roll dice for each unit within 3 inches of the general, and they take a D3 mortal wounds on a 5-up. Like, no one gives a fuck about that. Like, no one will remember. Like, also, all your fucking characters got like a 5-up save. Like, why are they in combat, you idiot? Especially with multiple units.
It's a legitimate strategy.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is snake orientated. The +1 attack on the melee side is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts beyond that? It's like, cool, stacking attack,
Well,
whatever.
that and the bravery thing. The bravery thing actually makes sense then. So possibly if you're not taking Morathi and you're doubling down on snakes with that character and Medusa, because you're going to have to take the Medusa anyway. She's casting Mind Razor, and those girls become really scary, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. So the +1 attack is only in melee. It is not for both. For a melee site or harpy unit wholly within 12. I'm pretty certain it's not for both, unless someone can quote me that it's not. But I'm pretty certain that it's only. That's a question I would have asked myself. So yeah, it's in melee anyway, which is a shame. So that's the. So now we're going to look at the War Scroll battalions. I mean, there's really only one worth looking at, but we'll look at them all. Shrine Brood's 120 points. Is 2 Bloodrack Shrines, 2 of either a Bloodrack Sisters, the sisters or the stalkers, so the snakes, and 2 harpies. And they've got an ability which is, I've just written no at the end of it. It's you kill a model to heal the shrine. We're just going to just move past this. Like, it's literally shit. And it wasn't worth my time even really making a picture, but I did it for you anyway. Right? So
And the only strength I see out of this is people with the oh no, never mind, because it couldn't be Hagnar anyway. Never mind, doesn't matter.
You have to kill yourself, to heal yourself. It's awful.
But 120 points isn't a lot for an artifact and a low drop if those are the units you're taking.
Yeah,
anyway,
if you had
right?
no other good battalions, I'd argue that. But you've got loads. So you're like...
But this is a one.
Oh, God. Shut
I
up.
want the new one.
It's okay, there's a good new one. There's a good new one, so you're fine.
My question is, though, does this is this like locked? You know, like in cities, a bunch of the formations are locked. The War Scroll battalions are locked to their city. Is this locked to Cobra Kai?
So there's a big question about whether or not it's locked to Cobra Kai. It needs FAQing. Personally, I like there's some argument for, there's some argument against. Right now, it doesn't actually say specifically. So there you go. That's the best.
The only reason I ask is like Hagnar with like keep the everlasting shrine basically to keep the buff as big as possible. Oh no, never mind. It's a Bloodrack shrine, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not even a good one. So
never mind. Doesn't matter.
It's okay. So then Scathcoven, this is another battalion, 140 points. It includes a Bloodrat Medusa or a Meliusite Iron Scale, one or the other, which is really rough because you want both if you want to run snakes, because you want them to be battle line and then you want to make them run 2d6, right? So you take the Medusa, and then 1 to 4 units of Blood Sisters, 1 to 2 units of Blood Stalkers, 0 to 2 units of Harpies, and your abilities are that units in this battalion are immune to Battle Shock, which is actually really cool, because you can build a 1-drop army from this list, which is fun. You only have 1 hero, which is scary. You don't have any hags to give you immune to Battle Shock and reroll wounds, which is shit. You don't have any spells. Like, oh no, you got 1 spell because you got the Medusa, so that's pretty good. And you still got the Harpies, so that's pretty badass. So, like, you know, you could build, like, a good Gargant fighting army with this. You and your Gargant mate could just run at each other, and just fuck each other up all day, and just have the best time. Not at all.
Who wins? Who wins?
No one cares.
Which I care. I've asked the question. Who wins?
So yeah, you could all play each
It's
other.
not
And just
answering. Look, someone answer for him.
Anyway, so it's not great at all, but the immune to battle shock's a thing. That's nice, but it lacks all of the things that make the Daughters of Khaine army play well.
Well, you could still have that, and then make it a 4-drop army, for example, which is not bad.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you could take this and then just add a couple of hags if you wanted to, or do the cauldron, a hag. Yeah, you're right, Nate. So you could work it around, absolutely. So yeah, Nate's right. And the important point about Scathcoven, compared to the next one we're about to look at, is it doesn't make you take Morathi. So like Nathan says, you can just go on some minimum units there, because you want the Medusa to make the Snakes battle line. So this is what you would exactly take if you were going to run maybe a Hagnar version of Snakes, because you got the Medusa to make the Snakes battle line, you got the Harpy bonuses, like little 2 Harpy units, you're not taking Morathi, and then like Nate says, you can just put in the Cauldron and the Hags, and then you run in a pretty... You're running at least a coolish. You're being that hipster. What car am I driving there, Dan?
I am.
You're definitely rocking a Swift, a Suzuki Swift there.
I think Wogshrug.
Oh yeah, perfect. Wogshrug with the hot gas.
Okay.
It says on page 96 below that the new faction unlocks the battalion. So actually, you can only play these in the Snake version. So
never mind.
It's even shitter. So, and the final one, which is quite cool. Again, this is I think we'll just compare everything to, wanting to play against Gargants. And this is a perfect Gargant army. The Snakes and the Gargants just run around, have a great time. So 140 points for the Viperic Guard. You got Morathi is in the list. 1 to 2 Bloodrack, Meliusai or Iron Scales. So So you basically got the those whatever, and you got 2 to 3. I've lost the train of thought. What is the one? Medusa.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you got 2 to 3 Blood Sisters or Blood Stalkers in that list. So you basically can just do min battle line from snakes. You can have your characters, and you have Morathi, and your ability that you get is a hero from this battalion can use a command ability without spending a CP. So you can make a 1-drop army that can run 2d6 forward, fight with a bunch of extra attacks, and then just die in the midfield. What do you guys think?
I think this offers some interesting new options for Daughters players, but I don't know if I particularly see them being stronger than what they already have.
Okay. Yeah, that seems fair. Nathan, you got any thoughts?
What does the temple give them again?
+1 a command ability for +1 attack, +1 bravery. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So, I mean, it does make a pretty fast 1-drop list that if it touches anything, it'll probably blend it. Those 3 units. It'll have 3 units of stabby things. Or 2 units of stabby things and maybe a shooter one. I don't know if the shooters are any good. Never seen them.
Well, so they got an extra attack. Thanks for bringing that up, because I ran some maths. Because there's been a lot of hot talk about running a bunch of bow snakes. Yeah, because Morathi obviously can make you shoot in the shooting phase, right? In the hero phase. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I ran the numbers on it, which I think is interesting. So if you take Morathi and you take a full unit of bow snakes who went up points, this is important. They went up points. So they're now 140 points each. So your big unit of 20 is 560 points. Plus Morathi, 600 points. So you're at 1160 so far. And haven't got any battle line yet. And then, so what you'll do is that's basically 80 shots. 40 in the hero phase, 40 in the shooting phase, which equals 13 mortal wounds. And then you give someone 20 wound dice at -1 to hit. -1 rend, which is, I wrote down here, shit.
So as an interesting debate, and it might have been FAQ'd since I played Daughters account, which was a very long time ago, and only at 1,000 points for a doubles. But I was told by Games Workshop directly that Morathi's ability that allowed them to shoot in the hero phase would not trigger the 6s.
Who said that? On what?
Someone from Games Workshop. It was questioned at a doubles GT. And they said,
but that's not now.
No. A long time ago. But they said that Morathi's ability, because and it might have been changed, but the wording on the war scroll on the snake says in the shooting phase.
That's the old one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the old one. The points for Blood Sisters, which are the combat one, didn't change. They're 140 points and 480 for the block bonus, but you don't get a block bonus for the Stalkers, so you have to play the full 560. Which is pretty rough. And they've got a combat attack as well, so I was like, maybe they're like a dual, kind of like a Skyfire unit, they're like a dual purpose. They can do a little bit of both. The answer is that is not true. Maybe you could add +1 melee attack on, you could give them Mind Razor, you could almost kind of try to force them into the combat role as well, and make them like a dual purpose unit, and make them kind of scary. But,
it's not what they're suited to.
No, and then I did a little bit of wounds points analysis because Ziggy is the man. So basically, if you run Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, they rock in. If you take in 30, they rock in at 300 points each. So you basically get 10 points per wound, which is pretty good steal. The Blood Stalkers, the Blood Sisters, are 12 points per wound. So it's actually more. You also don't get as many bodies. For more points, you get less bodies to hold objectives. So, objectively worse in almost every way. They also don't get any of the good abilities, like piling 6 inches. They're harder to stick around a cauldron. You can't run and charge like cauldron, like you can with Cauldron Guard. Cauldron Guard, yes. So you can't run and charge. So
they run and charge with that thing, don't they?
they run and retreat and charge is what you get with Cauldron Guard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, like the big question is like, has this update? Not that it had to do anything. It didn't have to do anything. There was no one was like, they didn't give themselves a thing. So I guess the question is to you guys: external parity and internal parity. So like competitively outside the book, competitively inside the book. How do you think that they've done? Same question to the Twitch chat.
So that 12 wounds per model, 12 points per wound, sorry, on the snakes, and 10 per 10. But do we know what the damage is per point on those?
Yeah, I think you actually would end up getting more damage out of the combat snakes. You really would. However, like there's so many other factors that aren't included in there. Like for instance, the pile in 6 inches, like the run and charge, and retreat and charge. I think there's a lot to break down other than just like pure like what's the overall output and utility wise. I think that the Witch Elves and the Sister Slaughter are just better.
Yeah, but I think the combat snakes have definitely got. I mean, they were scary before. It sounds just like they're more scary now.
Yeah,
and faster, a lot faster.
Yeah, one of the interesting elements of the book is when you include Morathi, your army becomes way better because that command ability when you get to use it. Like if you've got Morathi near something, you're going to be able to pile and attack in the hero phase, your hero phase, not theirs. So that's really, really good. But like I wouldn't say that the way that this army didn't play necessarily by just running forward and killing stuff like Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist did, sort of a situation, or maybe Ardboys do. I feel like the way that this army played was it moved into a very... And don't forget, this army doesn't want to play with you on turn 1. It wants to play with you on turn 3 when it's got reroll all to hits. It's fine on turn 1, but it gets much better as it scales up later on. So it tries to trade early and plays big into turn 3 onwards. And also they're tough. So yeah, well that's my thoughts. But Nath, you the combat snakes are better, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some scenarios where you have to be competing from turn 1, really.
Yes.
Like that Blade's Edge. If you're going to wait till turn 3, you're going to be struggling. Yeah.
Unless you're an eel. I think I don't know. Like I think it's probably made them better. I think from my listening, I think they've probably been made better. I think it'll be a more obvious occasion that you'll see Morathi now because I just think you get so much more to the table. Like she can't be jankily killed faster with that in between round. You're always getting good spell casting. You're always getting that disgustingly strong giant snake lady. It's good. I think. I mean, they've always been good, haven't they? And like, I'm not sure this book or additional rules or whatever we want to class it as brings a huge amount more than they already had. But I think it will adapt Morathi a little bit, maybe to the new meta. That'll help them.
Well, I think the positive is that that internally snakes are more viable than they were previously. However, the snakes don't take advantage of, and the battalions don't take advantage of any of the core things that made Daughters of Khaine have a crazy win rate of 75%. And like they only ever dropped down to 60%. They were still like a thing for a very long time.
Yeah.
And those core strengths are that 5-up DPR, rerollable like prayers that you can't stop, which are inherent in the hags. But the big nerf for the army is the heart renders. Like that's changed the army pretty significantly. Like it's quite interesting. Like you're singing and dancing about Morathi, everyone's like, "Oh, I want to talk about running snakes. I'm going to shoot 80 shots," and it's just like a bunch of like very much like we said at the top of the show. It's all about like, "Oh, don't worry about them. There's just heart renders that are over there." But now, really, don't worry about them because they're not going to take your objectives turn 5.
I think so. I'm just going to there was an interesting thing. I'm just going to pull up 2 points. So someone had said it in the chat. I've lost it. I wanted to say who said it. Chumphammer said. So I think it's really interesting that the new champion doesn't make snakes battle line, and she is a snake and a hero. So I'm going to say that's dumb. And then the other one that I think is quite interesting is obviously and I think it's not going to get hugely talked about at the minute because everyone's only going to be converting them to use them. But the new Warcry warband, the Our Daughters of Khaine,
We're waiting on points.
Yeah, can teleport every turn. Like that'll be big. I think that's the heart. Like they're the heart render replacement.
Yeah.
If their rules are good, because they can kind of fight, ish, a little, but that guaranteed 9-inch away teleport every single turn, super strong.
Yeah. Well, everyone's waiting on points for those, and I think that's going to be interesting. But I don't imagine anything moving away from Hagnar in any way, shape, or form, and I don't imagine snakes taking the place of Sisters of Slaughter. But it's cool that snakes are better now, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think this will change their gameplay slightly, not massively, but then again, did we expect a huge shakeup? Probably not. So I'm interested. I'm mildly excited to see what it changes. I also think that it's kind of cool to see that they are playing with it. And the more we talk about it, the more I'm okay with the Iron Scale not making Snake's battle line, because otherwise you would have no reason to take the Medusa, like ever.
Yeah, I guess, and it's also a model that's locked in a box as well,
Yeah.
which is also rough. Like if you just want the one model. So it's a good point. That's a good point. But I don't know. I feel like maybe any of the snake characters really should like unlock the snake battle line. But it's a good point.
I mean the fact that the general god queen of the entire race is a bit dumb. But
yeah,
I'll ignore that too. I mean, she's a giant. She's a giant snake.
I mean, I think I would have thought that maybe there could have been a rule for Morathi that was like, if she doesn't, like, if she's the general and you don't have another general, then maybe they could. You know, like if you take a sacrifice there, then you can, or I don't know how you'd word it. There should just be a
rule that says Morathi is a god. She does what she wants.
Yeah.
Have some snakes. Do you know what? Have some orcs. She's a god. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting update. It's all of the updates have been quite interesting structurally, I think, and it's been nice to see them try and reapproach Morathi necessarily. But I do think there's a conversation that we're not really having there. In that, you're spending some more points for Morathi. Someone in the chat just pointed out how much Morathi plus a cauldron was, and it's half an army. So like you're going to get a lot, but like Morathi could be 60 more Sisters of Slaughter.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's a conversation worth having. Like, you know, and I think that conversation was already being had when Morathi was 480, and now she's 600. So I think that's something people are going to talk about. All right, that's good. I enjoyed that. Thanks, guys.
Anytime.
Well, I've played against Nick Thompson's got a snake army, and I think he took it to one of the heats and got a 4-1. So I expect he'll be running them snakes again, and yeah, I think he'll get some. He's got a good chance going 5-0 with them with those rules, definitely.
Yeah, but I think if you're taking snakes, you have to drop Morathi. I think if you're playing Daughters of Khaine, you have to play Hagnar. That's end convo. Is like my thoughts. I'm not saying that's the facts. And also the stats also kind of support that. Just saying, but but it doesn't mean you can't do it without. I think you can do snakes and win, but you have to still do snakes Hagnar. You're not doing snakes and something else fancy. Like okay, all right, good. So we're now going to Twitch chat and everyone. We're just going to take a small break now. Specifically, the break is going to be James. James, can you tell us what's been happening over the past few weeks? Idoneth Deepkin are next. We're going to do them in 5 minutes.
I'm ready. I've already got it. It's up on my
do you want to tell us what has happened last week and gone on for this week?
Oh yeah, because Dan wasn't here. He missed out.
Dan might not know what's going on.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Please
Okay.
fill me in.
So do you remember the week before last, Dan, when you were on the show, and I asked someone to write some fan fiction?
I remember. I do remember.
So someone did write us some fan fiction.
Oh God.
Yeah.
On the mating rituals of the Troggoth princess.
Oh no.
So last week, live on the show, I read that out.
It was by Cold Shoulder, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, by Cold Shoulder. Sorry, I missed that bit. And then I said, if you want to send some more, send some more. So Cold Shoulder.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Everyone loves it.
Okay. All right. Good.
So
yeah.
Cold Shoulder sent me another bit of fan fiction that we'll be
Oh,
reading
dear.
out shortly,
Mhm.
and then Dancing by Moonlight, I think.
But
Was-
you're
oh,
gonna
no, but-
you're specifically reading out the one by Cold Shoulder, I think.
Yes,
Oh,
and
that's
then
the one you told me you were reading.
yes, and then next week we're going to read another one.
Okay,
But
because
by
we have
a-
a visual aid Twitch chat. We have a
Oh
visual aid.
God.
Hang on,
So-
what for
so-
this week?
Yeah. So
Oh, I
if you
didn't know this.
so if you could start reading the story, please, James.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to this week's instalment of the Mating Realms.
It's
show
the
that
mating
brings you
rituals of the Mortal Realms. We should say. Sorry, I don't think we said that.
It's called the Mating Realms.
Okay, good.
Like the-
Yeah.
Don't butt in. This is my
Sorry.
section of the show that I
Maybe.
don't write. The show that brings you the mating rituals of all manner of creatures from all over the mortal realms. In last
Oh.
week's instalment, we promised you the mating rituals of the Corn Korgorath. Unfortunately, only one member of our team has managed to survive witnessing the events and is too traumatized to tell us any relevant information. It was boring. So on such short notice, we have had to change to the mating realms to bring you the mating habits of squigs. Nathan will be happy.
Yeah.
It is
Please tell me
widely
that netters are involved somehow.
We'll find out together. It is widely believed that squigs are born of mushrooms. This is true. But how those mushrooms come to be is a whole other matter. You see, when two squigs love each other very much,
As seen on the screen.
A mommy, daddy, and a mommy squig and a daddy squig. Or
they will become
mommy squig.
a bonded pair. This bonding ritual starts with a dance. The dance being an odd ritual of leaps and bounds, often off walls, and even more impressively, off cavern ceilings. With the pair slamming into one another at high speed regular intervals. Often these impacts upon one another, as well as their surroundings, formed an oddly rhythmic beat. I just thought that picture changer was so distracting.
I've definitely seen this at bar 11, that's for sure.
If by the time this dance is completed, both are still alive, then the ritual is a success. These bonding pairs will fight alongside each other for as long as they live, the eldest of these pairs often becoming chained together by squig tamers and used as mounts for loom bosses, becoming what we know today as mangler squigs.
Oh fuck!
Have you
Ooh.
ever wondered what happens if mangler squigs survive all their fights? No? Well, we here at the Mating Realms did so. So we sent one of our top researchers to get the scoop. When the bonded pair of mangler squigs grow old, they return to the cavern where they originally bonded. In a moment of passion, the pair will dance once more. These dances will often cause earthquakes and other localized seismic activity. This time, however, with each impact upon one another, the pair will oddly inflate. This dance will continue, the pair roaring and slamming till pop. The pair will burst like balloons in a darkling covered armory, releasing spores that litters the cavern with a fresh new brood of squig mushrooms. These squig mushrooms are precious to squig herders and handlers, as often these squigs will be tougher and meaner than all other squigs.
Oh,
I'd like to
wow.
say
yeah.
thank you for joining us for this impromptu Mating Realms installment. We will attempt to further extract the gathered Korgorath mating information from our colleague. But until then, we ask you to join us for another tantalizing session on a Mating Rituals of the Mortal Realms, coming to you soon.
Yeah. Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. What did everyone think? Thank you to Scrivo for the art accompanying that.
Amazing.
Oh,
I'm a little bit.
Do you know
like,
my-
just
Carry on,
Go
Dan.
on.
You finish first.
I don't know what to think between the rosy cheeks of the crimson squig or the lip biting of the sunburst yellow squig. It's a little bit much, but I'm here for it and I love it. And I'm emotionally disturbed. So good. All the things I assumed that the squig mating ritual would be.
What I really like about that is like you've now forever when I see Mangler squigs, I know that those two are in love with each other.
Yep.
And it really changes that whole model for me in a significant way.
And you're gonna kill them.
Yeah.
Because I'm jealous of their love. That's what it is.
I also, my favourite bit was I went back up the chat and I was like, oh, someone subscribed and someone followed during that.
Yeah. Thank you to Zeldor for subscribing and TFR Ham and to Smitty Pence as well for subscribing. There's loads of new subscribers. That's really lovely of you. Nice. Welcome to the show. Brilliant, James. Well done. Well done. And thanks for following also.
Shout out to oh no, his name's gone. From Cold Shoulder, who wrote it. Big shout out.
Big shout out. Normally the way we take these, by the way, if anyone's interested, is in YouTube comments. Our YouTube comments are super weird. They quite often get invaded by sex bots. And now it's Warhammer, not bots. So excellent there.
Just so many new things that we're learning. And that's good. It's good to learn.
Nate, you got any thoughts?
It's fantastic, yes. I think, yeah, I mean, you've got a fully illustrated child's book there, so yeah, let's go for it.
Do not give to children.
Listen, sex education it lowers teen pregnancy, it increases better emotional relationships between young adults. We should encourage it, and maybe squigs are the medium that we've always needed.
Well, okay, all I'm going to say is that I agree, but I would hazard to suggest that teens go into caves and slam against each other and against the walls with such ferocity that they swell, pop, and cause localized earthquakes.
It's true. It's true.
We've seen that before many times.
We don't need that again. Anyway, right, let's do Idoneth Deepkin. Shall we? Let me just make a note of the time.
Oh my gosh!
Right, so Idoneth Deepkin. Let's break down the Idoneth Deepkin and get a recap of the IDK. Nathan, could you give me your quick thoughts on how maybe someone would play Idoneth Deepkin and why?
They would get a bunch of slippery eels and release them around the place, doing slippery eel things.
Correct.
Like a bastard.
Nailed it. James, what about you? Got any follow-up to that?
Every Idoneth Deepkin player I've ever seen has taken a whole array of just a load of eels, a king,
Perfect.
and never that lovely model with an octopus.
Lotan.
That's the chap.
Lotan. Dan, you got anything to add to the...
Yes, I do. It's take a ton of eels and then one unit of not eels to then say, but see, I don't use all eels.
Actually,
So,
one of the
'cause these are
weaknesses that I've written on the graphic is magic defense is a weakness, bravery's a weakness, high drop count's a weakness, having to justify play all eels all the time, a weakness.
Yeah. So that's basically it. It's like that's when you take one unit of the Reavers, like the bow guys who are not that good, and you're like, yeah, see, I don't take all eels. I'm not like all the other boys. Yeah.
You've got pointy too. They normally take the pointy guy.
Yeah.
Always,
That guy's always there. At
always
least one of
fucking in
those
there.
guys.
All right,
Point in.
but let's because some people who are watching this might be new. Let's break down why that exactly happens. Ignoring, just saying eels are good. So specifically, there's some structural, I'm going to call them issues with this book because I think it's really important. And there's two pivot points around how this book works significantly well. One is their allegiance ability, which is the tides. Turn 1, you get cover. Turn 2, you get to run and charge. Turn 3, your whole army gets to strike before your opponent in both their turn and your turn. Again, turn 3, elves fucking love turn 3. Like they're hard for turn 3, and you can change it so that happens in turn 2, but traditionally that isn't the case. So that's one of the pivot points around why this book works competitively, but is structurally really quite flawed, because with that as your allegiance ability, like, why the fuck are you not going to do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, you might be like, I've got loads of Reavers. It's like, why, man? You get to fight for a whole turn yourself. Like,
also, they have heroes that give them the ability to show up from a board edge and get +3 to charge, so they only need a 6 to make their charge on the turn they show up.
Yes, so there's a character that you can take, which allows you to take a unit's off board into Deep Strike, and when they do land, you get to point a unit within 24 inches, which seems a little bit too, like, good. And then you get to add +3 to charge to that unit on. So anything, I mean, you could take a turtle and then do that as well. Or you could take some thralls and do that, but you don't tend to, because we'll get to eels in a moment, because I need to talk about the other pivot point, which is obviously the command ability that you get from Volty. And the command ability allows you to pick up to 3 units from Volty or 1 from an Achillean King, and you're able to give them extra attacks. However, you are able to stack that, which means you can do it multiple times. So you can take a unit of eels who have 3 attack profiles, and really, every time you add +1 attack, you're adding +3 attacks. And you can do that 4 or 5 times. So really, you're adding like 15 attacks per eel to the unit. It's nuts. Anyway, so it's that. Those are the 2 pivot points, and the reason it works so well on eels, but does work Morsar eels, which is the offensive eels. It also works on Ishlan eels. It also works well on sharks, and it also works kind of well on turtles, or it did work well on turtles. Big shout out to all my boys in Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland last year, who were just running around with turtles, stacking Volty attacks on them, and just trying to roll 6s. Like, they just didn't give a fuck about anything. They were like, listen, if these turtles on turn 3 roll nothing but 6s, I'm the king of the world. Which is which is a tactic. But
I like that you stopped yourself shy of saying good there. You just said it's a tactic. And I think that's probably why we don't see that many turtles.
If you took all weighted dice, it'd be a winning tactic.
It would. See you later, Prop Joe. Big love. So those are the pivot points on why the army works so well. And then when you get to eels, they're movement 14. They fly. They get to re-roll their charges on their war scroll. That's super important. They have crazy attacks when they charge. They do extra damage. They're super offensive. But you have seen lists run where people have taken defensive eels, or they've taken sharks, and even turtles in some cases, where they've stacked those 2 key abilities, right? Stackable command ability, always strike first across the whole army. Those are the kind of key points. Would you disagree or agree with that, Nath? Got any thoughts?
No, that sounds right.
Perfect.
Loads of eels charging super far, ambushing you, chipping away, and then turn 3 being a right pain in the arse.
Mm-hmm. So the other things to quickly note is that the Eidolons have always been too expensive and always been rubbish, or they were rubbish because of how expensive they were. The turtle was in the same boat, and the sharks saw some play, because again, you could stack all those attacks on them. They had a bunch of attacks, and they also had an okay shooting attack, which has got better, interestingly. So you sometimes will see shark, but not often. Big shout out to Ben Spinetti, who loved
the Shark King.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. So, sorry, I've almost done the wrong thing. So let's do what we saw in the new. Sorry, I've got the wrong thing up.
I think the thing with the eels that you always saw is that even when they were at a disadvantage, they were so well priced, they were fast, and they had fly. So even when if you came up against someone whose plan was clearly like to outflank, pop up from the side, and charge you, even when you played, say, Total Commitment, where they had to deploy on the board, it wasn't that big a detriment because they were still super freaking fast and had fly.
Yeah.
Like, they were never really at a disadvantage. They never got bad. They were just slightly less kick-ass.
That's the key point. When you change anything in this book, it has to be combat orientated, because the whole army gets to fight first for 2 rounds of a game. Why would you never argue with that? So you have to do that. And then you have to also... I think we've had a message off Nath. Okay. All right. So you have to get something that fights as well as the eels, but no one other than Idoneth players wants something that fights as well as eels. I think that's fair to say.
Mm.
So it has to fight better than eels to encourage you to buy them, so fuck that. Or it has to do a different job, or it has to make the army play in such a way that you would play something diversely different to eels. Again, you would have to, for some reason, be ignoring that allegiance ability, which lets you fight for the whole game. I don't know why you would. Oh yeah, of course. Thank you, Stephen AOS. Fucking love you. You're great. He's also the thing to point out, which we haven't discussed, is that they also have access to the most obnoxious terrain placement in the game. Which is obviously 2 giant boats, which you have to move up and down across, which they can just put in your deployment zone whenever they want, which is rubbish. Okay. So the changes that we've seen in this book is Alapexes have changed, which are the sharks. The Leviathans have changed, and they've all changed points and war scrolls. Aspect of the sea, so the Eidolon of Mathlan, the aspect of the sea and the aspect of the storm. One's the caster, one's the shooter. The fighter have both
stabber.
changed. And there's a new war scroll battalion called the Blood Surf Hunt, which we're not even going to talk about. Just the answer is no at the end of that. If you guys it's a waste of all of our time. Like command traits that are like, when near an enemy, you can reroll 1s to wound if you're surrounded by 37 models. Like, I don't need to read that. I don't know why that exists.
What do you mean? What about when there's Nesses?
I mean, they're scary. You guys got any of these you're excited for?
I haven't seen the changes yet for the Sharks and Leviathans, and I'm hoping that they make people other than Ben Spadeni want to play them.
All right, well, we'll do the Leviathan first, because it's actually pretty important and is pretty fun. So it actually went up points. Now, the Eidolons have been coming down. The Eidolons have been coming down points over time.
Was the Eidolon drunk when it had that passport picture taken, because it's not got its face in?
The Leviathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I was up late doing these things, right? I think I've done nice. I think these look nice. So Twitch chat, can I get some backup?
No, it's just laughing at
you, buddy.
the Howder and the crew were in it, but the Leviathan was like, no, it'll take my soul.
The Leviathan's like, oh man, I'm only from the left, from the right. That's not my good side. Delete it, guys. Delete it.
I'm sorry. But big shout out to Scriv for helping me with the template. So, right, so it went from 310 points up to 340, but got significantly better. Really important, got significantly better.
Okay,
right?
But again, can I ask Rob, before we go down this rabbit hole, when you say significantly better, do you mean compared to the shit show that it was, or compared to other things that are average to good in the game?
So if you had a Leviathan or a war scroll like a Leviathan in another army, it'd be baller as fuck. Like you would take it. Like it's really like really cool now because it's 16 wounds with a 4-up save, right? But it gives itself the big change is the Void Drum, which is the bubble, of wholly within 12 of +1 save to units. Previously, it used to give you cover, right? But now it gives you +1 save, which is massive. Because obviously, if you're playing Idoneth Deepkin, their allegiance ability on turn 1 gives you cover. So if you have a turtle, anything around the turtle, that's able to get cover, so non-monsters, have got +2 save.
Okay,
so those eels have now got +2 save. Excitingly, defensive eels, when you charge a unit of defensive eels who get +1 save and ignore rend. If you charge them in with a turtle, you've now got 2-up save unrendable eels. 2-up, unrendable. I'll say it one more time. 2-up unrendable eels. No rend. Can't affect them. 2+. 2+.
Super excited.
Yeah.
Plus,
I'm so glad. I was just thinking to myself, oh man, I was really disappointed that eels didn't get better. And now I'm just so happy for eels.
You do have to, not buy 2 lots of 3 eels to take a turtle. So the argument is whether or not you're ever going to get that. However, it's got the Void Drum also got another ability, which is +1 attack to Namarti Thralls wholly within 12 inches, which is massive. So, and Thralls are pretty fragile. They've got a 5-up save. So now they're going to have a 4-up save. And on turn 1, they're going to have a 3-up save when they're floating around with the turtle. So you could have you could potentially build some like thrall lists, which are going to get +1 attack fighting around the turtle. I imagine a 2-turtle tower surrounded by thralls running it through. And I did some quick dirty maths on this, if you guys are interested. So 2 turtles plus an Eidolon of the Storm, which is the combat one. More on him later, but basically he's got an aura that gives +1 to wound to Morathi. That's going to set you back 1,010 points, and then you can have 80 thralls and a shark, and that would be a cool looking army.
Okay.
Oh, I've just realised. Oh no, I have put a character in. Yeah, Storm's a character. That's all right. I mean, it's kind of a fun list, but that's fun, right? It also got more damage generally across the board. It got more shots. And something else. It did get, unfortunately, its jaw attack got like kind of nerfed a little bit because it used to do D6 on 6s, and now it's like D6 if it's a monster, which is like whatever. I think that's right. 6s to hit now cause D3 mortal wounds instead of D6 like they used to, but it is still D6 versus monsters. So that's fun.
What's its save?
4 up, but then
So it's a 3-up.
It's a 3-up. Yeah, because it's near itself. Yeah.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah. Is the +1 attacks for thralls just melee? Yes.
And it's 2-up turn 1 then.
No, because it's a monster, because it can't get cover.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. However, it got a new ability, which is badass, and I love this idea. And it's basically, it's just a mortal wound, like, charge ability. So basically, crushing charge, any model that's within an inch, when it finishes its charge, you roll a 2+. Against anything that's not a 1 wound model, you take D3 mortal wounds. However, against 1 wound models, you take D6 mortal wounds. So if you ran a couple of turtles, you could just like charge them in first, and then you might do 2d6 mortal wounds to a unit, which is quite cool. And then you can fly your reels over, which is whatever.
Which is what the real plan was all along.
The chat's going nuts. Apparently, the turtle is a 2-up save, but it degrades over time.
Oh, thank you. I did not read that. Is that true? Maybe I was looking. I can't. Not to question the Twitch chat, but I'm actually going to check. So you guys can keep reading for a second. Let me just double check that.
Okay,
I
I kind of like that. I think it's a bit like KO.
Thanks, Twitch chat.
The thing that disappointed me with the first KO book was that they had these amazing boats that nobody took, because why would you? They just outside of a couple here or there, you almost never saw boats in it. And now, I mean, KO are absolutely all killer, no filler, but you see boats of all different way, shape, and form in just about every army, and I really dig that.
Did it +1 to hit? Void drop. Did I read this wrong? +1 to hit. So he does end up on a 2-up armor save to start with, so even more tanky, and he doesn't get +1 to his own save. So I did not read that right. That's true. In addition, I'd want to hit rolls. You don't get +1 attack. Sorry, you don't get +1 attack. You get +1 to hit. Now I feel real shit because I've done nothing for 2 days but read this stuff up. So apologies that's wrong. I was reading it from a blurry screenshot. So so +1 attack, not +1 to hit. So that's wrong.
Other way around. +1 to hit, not +1 attack.
Yeah, +1 to hit. However, it's still shit. Like,
well, it's worse.
Which is no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because when we get onto it, you're still never going to take one. But you can take some thralls, so it's in there and it's fine. Have you guys got any thoughts on that? I like the crushing charge change.
Yeah, crushing charge is fun.
I think for me,
I just don't see how are you still going to take it over 2 extra units of eels?
Well, I don't know. I think a turtle and some eels will look really cool on the table. And if you took 2 sets of 3 no rend eels and just basically use the turtle to make them never die, you could almost hold up any other army, I think. But it's a very expensive way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, it gives you a firm base, which sometimes the Idoneth Deepkin army didn't really have. It couldn't really defend an area of ground. It could go and smash people off, but then its defense was a bit weak if you were mobile enough to get into it. So, you've got the chance of being able to make that, and it does make, like, the thrall list is something that's always been sort of there, but nobody's ever bothered with it because the eels are just that good. But the thralls are proper good for their points as a war scroll. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so next up, so also in the book, you've also got mount traits, which is pretty exciting. And so you've got Deep Mare, which is you would often see a Deep Mare, which is you wouldn't be able to take this on Volti, but you would be able to take it on the other unit, which is on the Achillean King. So you've got a bunch of different abilities here. +1 attack on the Deep Fed Fangs and Jaws, or -1 to hit for units within 3 on the Void Chill Darkness is actually the one I think that people will pick if they pick it at all. But over on the Leviathan, there's some pretty cool ones. So Ancient Leviathan gets to have -1 rend treated as 0 rend. So on that 2-up save Leviathan, you're in like, it's pretty tanky. It can tank pretty heavily. Yeah. So like that's strong. And then you've got Denizens of the Dark Depths, which is crushing charge, gains +1 mortal wound, which I quite liked. You do the mortal wound charge, you do the D3 D6 +1 or D3 +1. You get a couple of units in. That's not terrible. I think it's quite fun.
It's a big base too, right?
It is.
Turtle.
Yeah. And also reverberating Carpe's void drum range at 12 to 15 inches. I don't know how you would be able to. I don't know how you would be able to. Volturnus would be able to take a mount trait. I don't think special characters can take mount traits, right? Like
depends. Some of them can. For example, the Fist of Gork can take mount traits on his Maw Crusher. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought that was locked in. So okay. So you can. So Volti can take.
Possibly. It depends on the wording, but yeah.
Okay. All right. It's not only the killing thing. Thanks, guys. Okay, I did not know that. So that means now Volti is better, which makes the eel list better. If that
it makes them -1 to -1 to be hit.
-1 to be hit. That's exactly what we needed.
I attack first, and also when you get to attack, suck it.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. So those are the changes. The void drum change is quite fun. Making it so that it's from 12 inches to 15 inches. I quite like that. That's quite cool. But obviously, you're going to just take that mount trait, right? -1 to hit on Volti, if that's the thing. I can't believe that's the thing. It's actually... Like, I was really trying to argue away from eels at some point, but it's not going to happen. So then Eidolon of the Sea. So both the Eidolons got a cool new thing. They got Storm Shoal. They dropped points, another 50 points, which is nice.
Those models have dropped like 50 points 3 times now.
They're just like, hey guys, we made these beautiful models, and to be fair, I have seen some of the best painting done on those models as well, and like Spirit, like they're amazing. And so like, do you want to take them? And people are like, nah, I'm good in that. But we tried really hard. So I think that's it. They're just cutting it to be like, hey, how about now?
How many points did they ever start on? Was it like 1,000?
Like nearly 500 at one point, Nath.
Were they?
I think my favourite thing with GW, and I know I say it every time we talk about points, but it is that fact that instead of just being bold with points changes, they're like, exactly what Dan said. Will you take it now? 6 months later? How about now? How about now? Have we removed enough points? Will you take it?
And they never did.
And then occasionally they're just like, cool, new book, this model's 50 points. And then everyone takes it. And 2 books later, they're like, we've increased it by 20. Will you not take it now? Terrible. Anyway.
So the important point here is the Storm Shoal ability. So 5+ DPR, which both the Eidolons have got that now. So they're way more survivable than they were, which is wicked. Yeah, it's a great change.
They've gone down in points, 50 points, but they've gained a 5-up DPR.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 330 points is genuinely class for what you get. Now, this Eidolon of the Sea is a spellcaster. Has got dormant energies, which is you can reroll all casting, unbinding, and dispelling. It used to be just one. But now you can reroll all, which is really, really positive. And if you don't do any rerolls, you get to heal D3 wounds, which is fun. And a lot of people just, because obviously you haven't seen Eidolon on the board for a long time, kind of just like being amazed at his pretty short range spell, which you pick D6 units and then -1 to hit. So if you took a spell portal and the Eidolon of the Sea, you could potentially be doing D6 units. I think it's 6-inch range, might be 9-inch range. But it's pretty short range basically. But you can have a bunch of units be -1 to hit, which is kind of cool. And the rerolling cast is really nice. The reroll unbinds is really nice. Despelling, not particularly good in combat, but fairly survivable. So it's 330 points for like a pretty solid caster, but it doesn't really bring anything to the game based on how they already play. But I could see people taking them and not being truly upset with having one, right? But like, it's a good caster and survivable, but it's just like, what do you do? Like, why are you there?
There's no buffs to cast, is there, on an Eidolon? So he's casting it standard, but he can re-roll it all.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's 2 cast?
2, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's better, which is good. It got cheaper and better. So we're getting very close to... Are you going to take it now? Are you going to take it now?
Are you ready to take this model?
Yeah. And then you got the Eidolon of the Storm, which is the combat Eidolon, right? It is a better caster than the Lariel. I think that's good. It's a support caster, says Aaron M, that can hold its own in combat. Good for small skirmishes. Yes, agreed, but it's 330 points, and I don't know why that would be in your list when you could just blow the shit out of the water with the other things. So the Eidolon of the Storm has got better, obviously 5+ DPR. Got cheaper as well, 360 to 330. Not a wizard. Gained +1 attack as well as +1 damage on the charge, which is really cool. So he's got like a pretty scary spear now. And then he's got Drench with Hate, which is reroll 1s to wound aura, which he used to have for Deepkin, Holy with an 18. Now it's +1 to wound aura. A +1 to wound aura for Deepkin within 18, basically.
Okay.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The question is do you want him like running and charging around the board, being what he is? I think that's quite fun. He also like heals on his charges. Like it's a fun unit, and I'd be more tempted to take the Storm than I would be to take the Sea.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, personally, I really like that. However, nothing matters. Not that that's not all good. They've all got better. Great news. But the fucking Sharks.
The fucking Sharks.
It's such a cool model, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's gonna fucking suck. Right, so so he's got +2 movement. They've lost the monster keyword. They've got a weapon profile change.
The Sharks are monsters.
They were monsters, yes,
It's a
but
shark.
not
a
behemoths.
giant shark.
Yeah,
Importantly, can I just say that now somehow these giant flying ocean sharks get cover?
they do. And
Just
they also get +1.
this shark is like, whoa, I'm being sneaky. I'm in these bushes right here. Why are you pointing a bow at me? Good on him.
But the headline, and I've saved it till last, because obviously, like with the prefix of how it will set up, they've gone up 10 points as well. It's an important point to note. Is they've got a shooting attack. Now you can take one of two weapons at the top, and one of them, Nathan, is a fucking net.
Oh, nice.
How many minuses to hit does it make, Nathan?
Yeah.
It doesn't. In a turn in which you've just been hit, not even wounded, in just been hit, a unit cannot make a pile in that turn.
Amazing.
It's
That's
not
very
amazing.
good.
It's
That's-
not amazing.
It's the anti-netter net. You fire it at some netters and they can't pile their netters into you.
Yeah, that's pretty tasty. That is. Can't pile in
Yep.
the
That's
turn that they
net.
were hit with the net.
Yes.
Nice.
What does it hit on? Do we know?
I could find out. Hold on one moment. I'll find out for you.
I'm just curious. I'm curious. It's like, what's the chance of it hitting? Is it a 4? So are we looking at 50? It hits on a 3 up apparently.
There you
Look
go.
at that.
Thanks,
Everyone's
boys.
done it.
Yeah. Now where this is really fun is when I asked Nathan this next question. Is Nathan, you know when someone was charging with them eels, Dan, when people charge you with eels, would they charge you kind of like in a flat line, or would they kind of charge you on the edge so you couldn't really pile in very much anyway?
They're always going to hit me on the edge so that only one model possibly gets to attack if I'm lucky.
But if you get charged with one of them turtles or one of these shark things,
can't even pile in now.
Yeah.
Now I'm not
that
piling in.
Eidolon of the thingamajiggy.
Buggy, I didn't want to play Warhammer anyway.
The puddle Eidolon thing. That's
it's really good. It's really good. It's really good. Like, so sharks also, like, as we've talked about before, they benefit from all of the ways that you would already play Idoneth Deepkin. You know, you could stack attacks on them if you wanted to. Now, I don't think you're necessarily going to see loads of sharks, but I think you might see one, maybe two, like, just for to double up on the sharks in the list. It's like, lose 3 eels, stop something piling in. When you think about it, it actually is, like, fairly situational, because, like, maybe, like, you want to charge the screen and the unit behind it you've set up so that if you charge the screen, they can pile in an attack. That would really be only one of the only situations where it becomes, like, super useful. Yeah.
I guess my question is, how many times did the eels not just immediately kill what they were trying to kill anyway?
See, that's the important point. Like, is the control that you're going to get on the tabletop as important as like having another unit of eels? Really? So it's just pretty rough ultimately, and it's super strong. Like we talked about this earlier on the show. Like it's a bit of an MPE. And again, in an army that really didn't need to be able to control, like they already controlled your movement with good board presence. So I guess the real question is, like, do we think that they needed it? All it does, in my opinion, is makes the eels better. If we look at everything that's happened in this update, while it's nice that there's, and we'll move on to this bit now as kind of a review, I think it's nice that they've done some changes and they've tried to make the Eidolons better, they've tried to make the turtle better, and you could still potentially do those. I don't think that they're better in... I still don't think it's as good. I think eels have just got better, as we just found out. Found out live. Volti's better, which I don't get. And you now can stop people piling in. Seems to be the kind of takeaways from this. You got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that shark thing with the MSU eel list is really good.
We're going to see We're going to see 1 less 3 eels, though, aren't we? To see 2 sharks.
It's very, very possible. And also, Thomas Vermette makes a great point: is that they're a great ally. Like, like a shark or 2 sharks, if you want to ally them into your army to stop stuff from being able to pile in. Yeah.
Does that mean I get to buy some sharks?
You can buy 1 shark, maybe 2. Yeah.
You only need 1.
So it's pretty rough. Ultimately, in the Nathan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, well, I think at least we got more chance of seeing more of a variety of models.
Yes.
All right, you're still going to see a majority of eels, I think, but I mean that list you had with the thralls and the turtles, that's a decent list. I don't know if you'll see people taking it, but I think people could get legs out of it. But I think you will see a few more sharks and things now, definitely.
I think and I think you could potentially you can run some turtles as well. Like I'm a bit sad that I got the +1 attack thing wrong, because I'm like, +1 to hit on the thralls I don't really give a shit about. I was like, +1 attack, yes. So now I'm less interested. Ultimately, but you could. It would look awesome. 2 turtles, an aspect of the storm, a bunch of thralls, and a shark would be that's a very different list to what we expect from Idoneth, and it still all gets to fight first in round 3.
Yeah, and the thralls are just proper killy, aren't they? Really. So yeah,
I think. Like looking at it, for the people that don't want to put any thought into it and just keep spamming eels, they can keep spamming eels to their heart's content. However, but what I do get from this, like just looking at it, more so than maybe I did from Daughters of Khaine, is that if you are the kind of person who wants to try and build a different list, who wants to do something different with them, and there are a number of competitive players who that's their hobby, that's what they like. I definitely feel like these changes allow you to do it better than the Daughters of Khaine changes did. Like they allow you to change your list, take something different, more so than the previous one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think the only thing now that I think Reavers are just like the odd ones out, and again that's because of how like the core mechanics work, right? Like it just anyway, yeah. Okay, good. All right, positive. Apart from me not reading the War Scroll properly, which I'm quite upset about myself. So,
I like it. I actually like that. I think I don't know what they could have done to completely remove the eel spam kind of meta list build. I don't think there was anything they could do, but a lot of those changes for me give me hope that we might see more Eidolons, we'll see turtles, we'll see more like previously a lot of those units you just couldn't take. They were so bad or they were so poorly pointed that the idea of putting them in a list was you put it in for funsies, but knowing that you were going to get your poo pushed in. I like that now these changes let you use those models you like.
It's a good point. Like how bad were the Eidolons that they've dropped 50 points and gained a 5-up DPR and we're still like, a bit better, still not there. Like, like that's how bad they were previously. And also, like, bit lazy. We didn't see any, like, War Scroll battalions for a bunch of turtles. We didn't see a hero turtle. Like, there's a bunch of stuff.
We didn't see a ninja turtle, which is still... Where is Michelangelo? Where is a named turtle character with an orange bandana?
You can make one.
I went to I can't remember which tournament. It might have been the Sydney GT. I went with it was a teams tournament, 4-people teams. I made my entire team dress up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle outfits, and then we each had to paint one model in our army to match the turtle we were.
Yeah,
we did,
and we did cover the 2+ unrenderable shield eels, because actually I did this math earlier. I just would like to point out that if you wanted to take Volti, a turtle, and just Ishlan eels, yeah, you can get 27 of them now, which obviously you can stack all your attacks on, and turn 1 they're 2-up armor save, and then turn 3 onwards they're only a 3-up armor save until you charge them, in which case again a 2-up unrenderable save you can have on your whole army.
It's alright, they'll just roll ones. I'm not worried. They'll just roll ones. I'm not worried.
And they definitely won't use a command ability to re-roll ones.
No. Not gonna happen.
So that's definitely a thing. That's also definitely a takeaway to talk about, is the fact that you can just have a shit. Like, you don't even have to have, but you could have some offensive eels, and you could have, and people already had like 6 defensive eels or 9 defensive eels, and you could just have, like, that's an argument for taking the Void Drum, extending the Void Drum range to 15 inches, just so that it's like a bit more, like, you can get a few more in there, because it has to be wholly within for that +1 save, which is pretty rough. Like, 2+ unrenderable save. Sweet.
Look, things are good for eels.
Yes. And the question is, does this change how they play? Personally, I don't think it changes how they play. But you could do the other one. Volti, 3 shield eels and 4 turtles, 1930. I want to see this list of speckles. No speckles. I'm never doing that. That's shit. But love your speckles. All right. That's good. That was fun. I'm really upset with myself that I spent 2 days doing this and I fucked one of them up. I don't know how I did that. I think maybe I read the old one. Fuck knows. Right. Okay. So, last one. Have you guys got anything you want to talk about in this little break?
Change is scary, but oftentimes good. Just want to put that out there. I think I encourage people to try to change up their things with the change, instead of being like, oh, this made eels better, I should stick with eels.
What? I mean,
I imagine
eels
there's
better.
a lot of people out there that only still have an eel army as well. So maybe they'll add in like the 2 sharks and a king. I mean, they'd already own the king anyway, won't they?
Whatever. They're just selling that 2 boxes of sharks all day now. Like everyone, because that's the new box, isn't it? Like I'll have 2 sharks. Sweet, that's great.
Though the thing I really do love, like just to quickly go off on a tangent, I really dig the new boxes they've released. Because in particular, it means there's enough box sets. Like, say you were building an Idoneth army, you could quite easily buy the starter box and then that box set, and you're starting to get a good like amount of the models and different options in it. Are they great? Are they the eels that you're going to use for every single game? No, but you've got a nice selection there, and there's something to be said for that.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah. And I think it'd be nice to see some different stuff, like around, like from the Idoneth, and also if you do be the guy with the thralls and the turtle, and an aspect to the storm of the sea, like I'm gonna shake your hand, give you a cuddle, fuck yeah, I'll be like, what the hell? This is great.
Well, we could now potentially see a shark or turtle army take out an event. I don't think it would be easy, and I think it'd have to be an absolute maestro of a player, probably still with a lot of eels. But I think that in the same way that we've seen some absolutely absurd results come from some very talented players, I reckon we might.
Do you think just because you're sticking one turtle, you get to call it a turtle list? Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely. If you have a turtle in your list, you are a Ninja Turtle. And that's I think we should make that a rule. Anyone who can get there with a turtle.
All right. Right, let's talk about Slaves to Darkness, right? Nate, you still there, bud? Oh, heartbreak. Okay. He's done really well there. Well done, Nate. Maybe just holding on. Right, so the hot goss that we've got going on here is Slaves to Darkness, right? Hold on. So we're going to talk Slaves to Darkness. Because Nathan left, he took all the audio with us.
Nice.
So, Nathan, you're back.
Hello. Yeah. I'm just playing about with the audio, but sorry.
And how did that work out?
Yeah,
It's great.
really cool of you to do that.
Yeah.
Love that computer machine.
Fuck.
Too many buttons. Too many buttons.
I don't know what happened there.
Right, okay, so let's talk Slaves to Darkness. So let's do a recap about how Slaves to Darkness play. James, this is your area.
Yeah.
How do they play, baby?
Well, so I still think it's a really interesting book. And there was a lot in there. There's a lot of units. There's a lot of abilities. There was a lot of choice. But I almost want to say, like, I think initially when I was playing it, there was a lot of strengths in there that people kind of went for. So the knights, a lot of people kind of went for. But realistically, we all know that Marauders were like their shining, like, ray of hope. They ruined Chaos Warriors.
But you can't buy Chaos Warriors or Chaos Knights separately at the minute, so it's good that they're guff. Oh, Chaos Knights are okay. Chaos Knights are good. Chaos
Knights are good. Chaos Warriors, terrible. But Marauders were super strong. The War Shrine, I think, was almost in most lists an auto include because for its points, it's just amazing. The Sorcerer Lord and the Manticore Sorcerer Lord, super strong. You've got Bellicor's janky little magic. And then I think for me, like, those were probably the key points. And obviously, initially we had some fun with some Gaunt Summoners, but that's less strength now. I think it's super, like, the book for me, like, especially the way I was playing it, was super synergy driven and required, like, some RNG of being like, I'm going to do these things and I'm either going to roll well and it's going to go well, or I'm not going to roll well because, like, there's no real bonuses to cast, etc., without taking specific heroes. But I still think it's a great book. I still think there's a lot to it. So,
okay. Dan, you got any thoughts?
I thought, as playing against it, I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a fun book to play against. Yes, it had some really strong builds, but I thought it was a good, as someone who didn't play it, I thought it was a well-written book. Might be the way to put it, because I enjoyed being drawn against Slaves to Darkness. I knew I was in for a tough time, but I also knew that I was going to be able to play the game.
Yeah, okay. Nath, got any thoughts?
I didn't really know them that well, other than that they do seem to have a few tricks. There are things that aren't obvious about them, and they've got a big selection of units as well. So, yeah, I think they had some consistent stuff like the Marauders, and then other stuff that, like their magic, could be a bit hit and miss, but it could get pretty scary. So yeah, they're good heroes as well. I think a nice selection of heroes.
Yeah, agreed. So, like, a traditional playstyle, I think, basically, they've played Marauder heavy. Marauders are just excellent. The army's able to take, like, marks of chaos, but still not lose the fact that they're slaves to darkness, so that's always been really positive. So the way you would take the mark, that was always a thing. War Shrines, like James said, super important because along with the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, it's got, like, this is one of them, like, it's a reroll army. You can basically just, like, rerolls to hit and wound, reroll saves, and you can give them out sometimes in multiple locations, which is obviously massive. They've got a teleport, which is a big deal. They've got the way that they buff themselves, not the teleport, that's a spell, but the way that they buff themselves are prayers, and you can't stop the prayers, so they're just either happening or not. You don't get to try and shut them down. They've got really strong support pieces, obviously something like Be'lakor, and they've got access to a lot, either in allies or just in themselves, and they can really choose how they kind of build their army in a big way. However, weaknesses, they've got little to no shooting or ranged threats. Marauders don't count. They're not necessarily.
What about Marauder Cav? Oh my gosh, throw those spears.
Marauder Cav are actually alright. Just not their shooting.
Yeah. They've got medium survivability. Like, you don't generally have... Like, the Knights can be really survivable and positive. Marauders, not so much. And Warriors, you wouldn't take anyway. And then they've got weak pluses to cast, so they can't play the Magic game overly well, which is a thing. So there's lots of ways to play, and they haven't always done overly well. Like, they're more 4-1 than the 5-0 armies. They're definitely not dominant. They're not in that top bracket of armies. But they've got some fun stuff, and like it's a very manipulatable army. You can take a bunch of different units, a bunch of different war scrolls you can ally in, a bunch of battalions. It's
flavorful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got some.
It's the Baskin Robbins of armies.
Yeah. Right. So, so what they got in this? They've got a new sub faction. Effectively, so the Idolaters, so which is like, so to blow the lead on this is super fucking scuffed and really weird. Okay, so basically you oh, hold on, I've got the wrong one up. I'm so sorry. Let me just get the right image up for you guys. There we go. Right, so priests in your army know an extra prayer. Yeah, priests would be your war shrine, so they know an extra prayer. Okay, good start. Yeah, priests gain the leader role, but not the hero keyword. So your war shrine is now a leader. Sweet, but not a hero. Bad news, because there's something to say about this in a moment. Cultists gain the Marauder charge rule, which is amazing, and so cultists are all the stuff from the Warcry warband. So your Iron Golems, your Untamed Beasts, your Splintered Fang, they all now get to turn the lowest dice roll into the highest dice roll. Into a 6. So they've got the Marauder charge roll, and they're also battle line. So you can take all of the stuff from Warcry and you can make it battle line, which is cool. Yeah, they have to be as good as Marauders, which they aren't, because they can't take marks of chaos. So, but still cool, right? That's super fun. So you can have a bunch of Iron Golems and run forward and like have reroll saves, or you could do some pre-game. You could have 3 blocks of full, like, kitted out units. So what would that be? 27 Untamed Beasts. You can have that 6-inch move turn 1. You could just run them all up like turn 1. They could charge into combat and then die, but like they could do it.
I'm going to come back to this in a minute because that one is amazing and triggered me equally in equal measure at the same time.
Uh, yeah. Right. So you also get to take either a Chaos Chariot or a Gorby's Chariot, and they can be upgraded to an Idolater Lord, which you're going to want to do if you're taking Idolaters, because it's the only way you can get access, kind of, but not kind of. So they become an Idolater Lord, which is a new keyword, and they get the Priest keyword. So Idolater Lord and Priest, which is cool. You've got a hero. Nope, sorry, that's wrong. It's not a hero. You get an Idolater Lord, and you get a Priest. And don't forget, Priest becomes a leader. So you've got all of that going for you, which is fun. You also get +1 to wound for all the Idolaters in your army versus Priests. So you're pro-priests and you're anti-priests. I don't know what this is about.
There's three armies that have priests.
I think Archeon's a priest.
Oh, there's a lot of priest keywords floating around these days, aren't there?
There's some.
Skink.
There's some.
Some Stormcast. Some Khorne. Oh, and Fire Slayers?
There's even a priest
Yeah.
in
Dispossessed.
Idoneth Deepkin. They got a priest.
Yeah, obviously Stormcast.
Is he on an eel? Because otherwise I'm not seeing him.
Anyway, so you got that, which is fine. Nagash is a priest. Thank you. Huskard's a priest.
Quite a lot. I will eat my word.
Let's go, baby. Right, so their command ability is Desecrate. So a unit wholly within 12 inches of an Idolater Lord, don't forget that's a Chaos Gorby's Chariot or Chariot that you've upgraded, and within 3 inches of a terrain feature, wholly within 3 inches of a terrain feature, can Desecrate it and basically just turn off its abilities. So,
that's kind of cool.
Truly shit. Oh, okay.
Okay, but here's my question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that specify who it does and doesn't work against?
No, it's just any terrain piece.
So they can turn off faction terrain.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. I thought about like taking some Untamed Beasts, pre-game move, running them up, and then like just destroying a Bone-Tied Nexus in the middle of the board.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'd hate it if my Loon Shrine was turned off. That's for sure.
but I'd have to get through your whole army to do it.
Yeah, right.
You have got teleport as well, don't you? So I'd have to make sure I'm guarding that thing all the while.
You would, absolutely. You would. And then the command ability, Desecrate, a unit wholly within 12. So yeah, we've done that. That's fine. So next up, let's talk about the command traits, because this is where it gets super weird, and I have to kind of explain it to everyone and hope I get it myself. That's the kind of key part here.
Good.
So the Idolater Lords, right? Leaders as generals. So leaders can become generals, but only heroes can use command abilities or take traits. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So leaders can become generals, but only heroes can use command abilities and take traits. Okay. So the fact that you've upgraded a priest, or you've got a priest to become a leader, that's cool. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that they're a hero. So you still need to take a hero in your army. So your War Shrine is a leader, but it's not a hero. Therefore, it can't be. It can lead your army, but it can't take command abilities or take traits. So when you upgrade a Gorby's Chariot or a Chariot into an Idolater Lord, it becomes a priest, which means it becomes a leader, which is cool. But the next set of abilities that you get, you cannot use. Now, hopefully that'll be FAQ'd, right? And the way where this information comes from is that in the GHB, leaders as generals can be found in the GHB 2020 if you want to go research it. And command traits and artifacts is as per the core book, but not overridden by the GHB 2020. So I hope I'm making sense to everyone there. Effectively, so in Idolaters, you can make a character be a leader, but it's not going to be a hero, which means it can't take the command traits which come in Idolaters, and thankfully they didn't even bother to write any artifacts in the list.
So do you have to be a Idolater's hero to use their command traits?
Do I have to be an Idolater's hero?
Like, do you have to have the idolater's keyword? Like, how do you get that? Can I take a Chaos Lord on Manticore and make him? Can he use their command trait? No.
No. Because the only command traits that can take it are idolater priests and the general only. So they're super specific about who can take the command traits as well. So
if I make him the general, can he use it?
If I make him the general, no. What, a Chaos Sorcerer, a Manticore? No one can use the command traits because it doesn't work that way. Because they don't understand. The only ones that could take the command traits would be the Charioteer that you upgraded to be the general and a priest, if that makes sense, an idolater lord. But they haven't done that, so you can't do that, which is weird.
Nobody can use them. Okay,
no one can use them. It's super strange and weird.
That'll almost certainly be FAQ'd then.
Yes, yeah. And then we'll pretend like you can. We'll pretend like you can. You got the charioteers. So you got +2 to wound, +2 wounds on the general, which is fine on a chariot, I guess. The general can chant 2 prayers. That's kind of fun. That's fun for all the prayers you've got, and there are a bunch of prayers that you can cast as well. Go on.
So can I ask the question? Does that mean the general's going to get Look Out, Sir?
The general, yes, but none of them can become the general. They can become leader. You need a leader. No, you need a leader to just run your army, not a hero. You can just have a leader because it's a battlefield role. So heroes get Look Out, Sir. Leaders don't get Look Out, Sir.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. I know it's weird, right? Like, same as behemoths and monsters. Some monsters aren't behemoths, and sometimes the other way around.
Yeah, it would have just been easier to go, this character gets this role and these keywords.
Well, it's a really nice look at hopefully what they'll clean up in Age of Sigmar 3, in that we won't have battlefield roles that are separate to keywords. It'll just be like leaders, battle line, or something else, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
And they also didn't bother writing any artifacts. So it really feels like this part of it's been phoned in, if I'm 100% honest with you.
All right, lay it on us.
Pardon me?
Lockdown rules.
Lockdown rules. Yeah.
It's working from home, yeah.
It's working from home part. And then artifacts. There were no artifacts, so we've talked about that. And I think that's all my slides. Let me just double check and make sure I've done all my slides. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I forgot to say, I forgot to actually do the update bit, sorry. There's a new War Scroll Battalion, which is also not worth talking about. So I just thought I'd...
Poor.
But what if they sort that out? Like, if they FAQ it, like, it's kind of interesting. You don't get, like, loads of strengths. Like, normally... in Slaves to Darkness, your general's got like an artifact that's cool, a command trait that's cool, and you've got some nice abilities. And the cultist as battle line is awesome, and having the Marauder special rule to charge is also awesome. However, there's so many bonuses in having keyword Khorne does this, or or Nurgle or something like that. Being marked a god in the Slaves to Darkness book gives you a massive bonus as part of the Legion's abilities. So not doing that seems super weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Or why you would make that choice.
Yeah. Why would you make that choice? Yeah. That's it. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. It's a bit disappointed at the end. I'm sorry, I should have maybe done that first.
They sound cool. Like, the concept of them is cool.
I think for me, like, and I know I bang on about Warcry all the time, but I still think, I know I said when the book originally came out, it would have been really cool if they'd have just said, here's some great new models, just use them as Chaos Marauders. And I think for me, the problem is now that what they've done is given you basically a Warcry cultist army that's rubbish. So it's like, here's these beautiful models. You can take them instead of these old Marauder models that are like 10 years old. However, if you're taking them, they're going to be worse than the models that are 20 years old.
It's really disappointing. And the fact that they can't take marks, so someone's put, if they could take marks, they could be added into God-specific armies, but I don't see that being a negative at all. Like, I think that would be a nice boon for all those different armies if they could take it.
I think the thing is as well, and I know, I think probably even on the show, like, I've talked about, Rob's talked about a lot, the Untamed Beast and their ability being really cool. But I think like other than like being a fairly cheap screen, like none of the Warcry warbands are that good. Like if you look at the weapon profiles, they all hit on 4s.
Oh no, they're
wound
rubbish.
on 3s, no rend, 1 damage. Like I don't think it matters. I don't think they're good enough to care. Like give them the, like they're all fighting the 8 points. They're all from a realm, but they hold no allegiance to any god other than Archaon. So they could all have a mark, like narratively. It's just a shame, I think. I think it's a shame because although I still don't think even if you'd have let them have marks and made them better, even if you said they have Marauders rules and their own rules, but they're 50 points more than Marauders, like they still wouldn't have been great, but we'd have seen them. And I think like there'd have been some amazing like 8-point armies where like there's just a bunch of warbands running around. They're just great. They're great models. It's such a shame, but
yeah.
I
think, and it's also the thing I don't understand, which just always wrinkles my brain, is that you look at that box set, right, and the Khainite Stalkers have really cool rules that genuinely make me go, "Oh, if I was a Daughters player, I'd be looking at putting 1 to 2 of those in my army because that's awesome." And then you look like, and the Underworlds is the same. You look at some and you're like, Zarbag's Gits. You're like, cool, yeah, put that in. That's good. And then you look at others and it's like, what? Why? Why would I possibly consider that?
I mean, they just don't do anything. So Jack Summers is making the point, which I think is valid, but like I'd like to push back on it. Is golems are 11 wounds and a 4+ rerollable save and 8 bravery for 70 points. So you should be able to take a bunch of them, is what he's saying. You know, and then you've got a bunch of these guys who are just going to sit and they're just going to reroll their saves. But like, I just don't see that working. I feel like you're going to... And 4+ rerollable is good until you apply Rend. Then it's a 5+ rerollable. And again, you can put a lot of them on the board, yeah, but all you're doing is just hoping that they can't take you off the board. Which I think the Marauder version is very different. The Marauders is you're taking their stuff off the board. That's your safety net.
I think the problem, for me, like, so I get it, and it's... And as someone that plays generally a massive models, like, Iron Golems probably are better than Chaos Warriors, but then so are most things. Like Chaos Warriors are terrible. That War Scroll is awful, and they should have just ripped it out and rewrote it. It makes no sense. Like even if you make them 200 points to make them good, just do it. Like it makes no sense that Marauders who are fighting to prove they are good enough to be Chaos Warriors are worse than are better than Chaos Warriors. But whatever. I think that the problem for me. And I mean, I know I had loads anyway, but the problem with that book is I think like every time I went through that book and was like, right, what do I take instead of Marauders? It's like, oh, but nothing's like that fast, guarantees that charge, hits that hard, and benefits from all those prayer buffs. Like when you're like, cool, I've got 50 Marauders, hitting on 3s, wounded on 3s, -1, 1 damage, doing 2 attacks each, so 80 dice. If they all get in, and then it's like, oh, and if I roll a 3-up this turn, they're also re-rolling that. So 3-ups re-rolling everything, 3-ups re-rolling everything. It's -1, 1 damage, 80 dice.
It's good.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem with the Slaves book is on a smaller scale, maybe the Eels problem.
Well, I think the problem with the Scales book is the Slaves book is it's such a complicated book. Like it's a lot of overlapping interactions with a lot of other keywords, and maybe trying to intentionally make it its own thing while zone out other chaos marks. Like it's quite a complicated book to write. So to give them their due and their credit, but this feels like I know it's a weird rule. Like you could just ignore it, right? The fact that they're leader means they're not a hero. It's like okay, well that's actually fairly important. Like, and you should know that. There should be a diagram
that's true.
Yeah. I think like, and that confused me. And then they didn't even do any artifacts. Like that's weird, right? Am I not the only one that thinks that's weird?
Well, I assume they can take the artifacts out of the Slaves book, can they?
I think that yes, they can. I think that they thought that like you would make like a war shrine, like a leader, like, and then you would make it a hero basically, and it could take a no, actually, that's not even true because the only one that can take the command traits is the idolater lord, and you become an idolater lord by starting off as a chariot, or a Gorby's chariot. So it's not even the war shrine. Like the war shrine as a general, like for these idolaters, is like perfect, right? It like makes loads of sense. It would be super, super themey. I just feel like this is a work from home Battletome, like half done.
I mean, there's several people, just saying in the chat, because it's worth pointing out that so it's us, Emoth in Power and Freaks and Deeks have both said so. All the artifacts in that Slaves book already are locked to each faction, so there's none that are just like, here you go, because we already saw the one where you could take Varangard as hero. No, the Archaon one that's all centered around him. So if you take that one, you also get no artifacts. There is no artifacts to choose from.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's a weird bit. Like, but to be fair, they basically done. So we're going to cover next week. We're going to cover cities, and we're going to cover the storm hosts, or the storm keep. Sorry, we'll do that next week, which is exciting. But as you can see from this, I feel like it's been fun. Like it's like I don't think that they've changed the script externally on the game as we will see it, but they've internally changed some stuff around on 2 of the factions at least, which is nice. You know, it's got people talking. It's got people talking about snakes and eidolons for a while, and that's fun. I think that's exciting for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And also, it really, I think it identifies. If you look at what they did with the Idoneth Deepkin, which is where I think they did most of the work, they've looked at it and they've gone, okay, we've messed up. These aren't as good as we wanted. We've tried to upgrade them, which makes it an exciting prospect for the books that are coming out next. Because, like, fuck knows what they're going to be, right? But, like, they're looking at the stuff that's weak in a book, and they're lifting it up, which is really nice. They haven't come into this book and just dropped Eels points, or, like, put Eels points up, like we expect in a Winter FAQ. Like, instead, they've changed the internal balance of at least 2 books, so that there's a little bit more parity, and that's a real positive change.
I'm excited, honestly. It's very easy to have like the pipe dream and the laundry list of, well, I would change this and I'd do this and I'd want this and I'd blah blah blah. I don't see anything in here that's a bad move or like a move in the wrong direction. Now, are there some missteps? Absolutely, I would say yes. But if
classic elf player,
when you're starting to dance, occasionally you do step on a few toes. So yeah, they've stepped on a few toes as they've done it, got a couple of left feet. However, I just looking at all these changes, I like them. I feel confident that it's at least moving in a way that is going to make games more interesting.
Agreed.
It doesn't always nail it, but moving in the right direction. I'm going like, yes, let's keep doing the cha-cha. Let's not go back to twerking. That was weird. is kind of like, that's where I feel like these things are going.
I agree. Big shout out to Gracie and Rob. Thank you so much for subscribing, as well as Default. That's super nice of you. That's lovely. What a lovely man. So Nathan, you got any takeaways? What are your thoughts?
Well, on that Slaves to Darkness stuff.
Well, no, the whole thing. Yeah, bud.
Yeah. Happy with the snakes and the Idoneth stuff. Definitely think we're going to see a bit more variety. The snakes are going to be scary. So yeah, but I think they were scary before. But yeah, I'm interested to see when we get to play some games, if we'll be playing against those things.
Vaccines on the way, baby. Vaccines on the way. The one they made is 90%. The one I've made has got about 14% chance of keeping you safe. It just depends how much you want to roll the dice on it. I made it.
What are the odds of zombie outbreak though? That's my concern.
Rob's is 90% there.
Mine's more likely to get you in that situation. James, you got any thoughts, or have we covered your thoughts?
I think it'd be nice to see, hopefully, some of those are the models, some of those are the builds, and sad I'm not going to see more Gorby's chariots.
Yeah. I'm interested to see next week the city stuff, definitely, and the Stormcast stuff, and interested to see what the other books in the series are going to do. So,
see, that's where it's exciting, because actually, when you unpack this, Like, you know, we've talked about
It's
this
a
for
load
2.5
of stuff, isn't it?
It's a load of stuff. 2.5 hours we've done this. We're doing 2 more next week. Like, it's a load of stuff. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily have a net effect in changing the shape of what I think the like top end competitive game is. But it does maybe like it mixes it up a bit. You get to be like an edgy player and like mess around, which is fun. And so like if they do that, if they do 5 per book, that's going to be a ton of new stuff, which is really exciting. Like, and it's a fun journey for everyone to be on at the same time. Like, we're all kind of invested. Instead of it just being one book, it's like, oh, I'm not too bothered about that book. It's like, oh, there's actually a shit ton, especially when you include cities and other stuff. So, I mean, the safe starters players are like, why did you bother? Like, you could have just not bothered. But anyway. Yeah. All right, well, you guys doing anything this week? Got any plans?
Just carry on dodging the corona and waiting for our lockdown to fuck off.
Perfect. Yeah, same.
Be locked in a house.
Nice.
Yeah, I did I don't know if anybody else did. There was the Humble Bundle Black Library stuff, so I got a ton of that. So I've got some fun stuff to listen to / ear read. Read cool. With my earballs.
Oh, perfect! That's always fun. I've been trying to earball read, but I've been reading this for a while, which I've really enjoyed. James, apparently you got something to announce. Is that correct?
I do have a thing to announce. So today, or in fact, not even today, about 30 seconds before we started the show, I think it was. We put. I'm going to try and get a link. This was not organised for this. We put some new shirts up for sale on the store. They're not of your face, Nathan. Those haven't come yet. Don't worry about that.
Can we get them? Because I want that.
No, don't want those. But what about undergarments?
Yeah, what the fuck is the undergarments, James?
The undergarments are coming. We've also got some T-shirts. Scrivo's done some art. They're on the Big Cartel. The link's in the chat. I don't even know if Rob's seen them, so that'll be nice.
I've seen them. They're really nice. They're really nice.
There we go.
What's nice about them is they don't delve into any like dirty politics. It's just good, clean, nurgling fun.
Yeah, avoiding that word. And that's my shout out for this week.
Oh, that's a good shout out. Dan, do you want to shout anyone out?
Just Gracie Rob. Good to have you in the chat and to have you catching a show. It's lovely to see you. I miss all of the lovely North American and Canadian human beings that I haven't been able to see since lockdown started. I miss you all. You're all beautiful. And stop giving me shit about the elf thing.
See, what's nice is I'm missing almost no one. Like, it's just so much fun to be here all on my own. Nathan, what about you? How you doing? Anyone shout out?
Good. Yeah, I'll give a shout out for a change.
Yeah.
I listened to you on a podcast today. It was pretty good. That was Rage of Sigma lads are funny. So yeah, listen to that. That was great. Where you were all controlling Johan in his head.
We were trying really hard. That was a fun one. I can't believe you listened to a podcast I was on. Now the only way for me to get you to listen to me is if I go on other podcasts.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, perfect. I'm going to shout out to Twitch chat. Thanks for being here with me today. YouTube bros, look after yourselves. Thanks to everyone who's joined us live, and thank you to everyone on this War Game Patreon. You guys are great. Do join me again tomorrow for the 40k Jason show on Tuesday, and the rest of this week. I also encourage you to go back and listen to the show I did with Owen today. I really enjoyed that. Owen broke down some more Daughters of Khaine stuff, which we talked about, and there was a really fun Tzeentch list on. Really fun Tzeentch list. Had a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore, James. So that was good.
Great model.
All right.
Great guy, great list.
I can't thank you three enough. You guys are brilliant. Love you loads. See everyone soon, and goodbye.